Okay, I think I'm live. Make sure. How's everybody doing? Thought I would do a reaction stream today. Some stuff I want to watch, including a new, well, not a new, I want to do another reaction to Climate Town because we're 2 for 2 with Climate Town. 2 great videos. They have another one on their channel, which we'll get to a little later, called Your Food is Lying to You. And I'll be curious what they discuss on that. I feel like they have earned my trust. So, not even knowing what it's about other than the title, I feel like it's a good thing to react to. Climate Town based. Our buddy Jade for Justice, never met her in person, but I'll just call her our buddy, has some new videos out. Thought we'd react to those. Okay, let's take a look. Actually, you know what? Let me do a different one of hers first so that people have a chance to get in here. She said that this one was quite good. But let's do the latest one first, but she said this one was better. So let's try this one here. So Jade for Justice is an activist who mainly does TikTok debates and stuff, but also does some YouTube here. Let's share this one here. Okay. Jade for Justice. Let me put that on the screen. Jade for Justice. All right, let's take a look.
What's your question, Eddie? Is vegan plants the same as vegetarian? I don't know what you mean by vegan.
Oh, okay, so she's going to be reacting to some questions, but that's good to give people a chance to find the stream.
A plant
Hang on.
Is vegan plants the same as vegetarian? I don't know what you mean by vegan plants. A plant cannot be vegan because, well, I mean, the plant itself can be suitable for vegans, but veganism is an ethical stance. Plants don't have ethical stances. Plant-based. Okay, so let me tell you the difference. Veganism is an ethical stance, an ethical decision to not exploit animals. Plant-based is a diet, so a dietary choice to not eat animals or products of animals. And vegetarian is also a diet that just excludes meat. So a plant-based diet is part of veganism because if you're vegan, you don't want to eat animals because that's exploiting them, or products of animals because that's exploiting them. But veganism extends beyond diet. Vegans also don't wear leather. They don't wear animal skin. They avoid products that have been tested on animals. They don't use animals as modes of transportation. They just don't use animals, period. Because that's slavery, right? Using animals is slavery. So vegetarians eat dairy and use certain products. Yeah, vegetarianism is just a diet. I was vegetarian like 5 years before I went vegan. And then when I learned about the dairy industry, that like sent me down a rabbit hole. I learned about the egg industry. I learned about the honey industry. I learned about animal testing. And I just came to the conclusion that I have no good moral justification to exploit animals. Roadkill or dumpster diving are arguably vegan. Arguably. I mean,
Yeah. A lot of times I just find these marginal questions to be kind of annoying. Like I'll answer these questions. I know Jade probably feels the same. She's answering these questions, but they're just diversions from the main topic at hand. So, roadkill and dumpster diving. Are you exploiting anyone at that point? I don't think so. So, whatever. But it's weird, gross, I guess, like to like pick up roadkill off the side of the road and decide you're going to consume that. It I mean, you could argue it does sort of normalize eating animals as well. And also just having been vegan for a while now, having read books like the China study, I just know what animal products do to our body. So I wouldn't want to put them in my body anyway for health reasons as well. And there's going to be additional issues with roadkill, which has been perhaps lying in the sun for a while. Or, anyway, let's see how Jade handles it.
Arguably, like I technically don't see an ethical issue with eating roadkill. But I don't think that it's vegan because you're viewing the animal as a resource. You know what I mean? Vegans don't view animals as resources. I don't view animals as food. I view them as individuals now. I used to view them as food, but I don't anymore. It changed.
Yes, good answer. And by the way, like when people ask me all the time, like people ask me all the time if I miss meat or if I miss like a certain animal product. The answer is no. I like, as similar to Jade, I don't view animals as food anymore. So, let's say I'm at a restaurant or something and there's like no vegan options or very few vegan options. In my opinion, at that point, it's just not a restaurant anymore because there's not food here. You know, that's how I view it. And that's why it's not difficult to be vegan, because it's like, oh, it's hard to find the food. It's not hard to find the food. Um, it's easy to find the fake food. The fake food is the meat, in my opinion. That's not what we should be eating. So, yeah, it's not hard when you're like, when I find like a store or something that doesn't have vegan food or whatever, it just to me doesn't have food. So that it ceases to be a store for food.
The way that I think. That dairy video had me crying. Me too. Me too, David. That video, like, I watched that video 8 years ago and I went vegan. What a cute hat. Isn't it cute? You like my ears.
Good hat, Jade.
Yeah. But it's the reality of the dairy industry, you know? It's the reality, unfortunately.
I should do some streaming where I'm just cooking something. I only did my sandwich.
And yeah, we've been conditioned
I do
to
have
think,
my
like, oh,
edamame,
cows,
as usual.
milk. But that's not how it is. You know, it's not like cows, milk, chickens, eggs. It's mothers that make milk. Mothers make milk. Yes, dairy is scary. Dairy is scary. That's the video. I have it pinned to the Green Vegan Goddess profile. And chickens don't just lay eggs. Everyone with the female reproductive system has eggs. You know? And we've been conditioned. We've been totally conditioned. Because like if you go outside and you see like a bluebird's nest and you see the bluebird has some eggs and she's sitting on her eggs, you think, oh my God, that's so beautiful. The bluebird laid her eggs. Her eggs. She's taking care of her eggs.
Her eggs.
You know, trying to hatch babies or something. They're hers. But whenever we see a chicken and the chicken lays an egg, we think, that's mine. I'm going to take it. That's totally conditioning. A chicken is just any other bird. They're just any other female. And their bodies are not our resource. Their reproductive system is not our resource. So that's another thing. Like people that say that they're feminist, I'm like, okay, so you have to go vegan. If you're feminist, you have got to go vegan because the entire animal agriculture
Or be a complete hypocrite.
industry is built on exploiting the female anatomy. That's what made me stop dairy. Yeah, me too. So it turned me vegan. No, old school. So you're viewing the animals as a resource. That's the problem. You're viewing the animals as a resource. The animals are not resources. They're not here to serve you. There's no ethical way to exploit an animal. Yeah, Earthlings, Joaquin Phoenix narrates it. Yeah, that's a good one. I recommended to David Dominion documentary, which it's really similar to Earthlings, but it's kind of more up to date. I haven't seen Earthlings, so I don't know, but Dominion documentary is good. And then, of course, Gary Yourofsky's speech is very eye-opening. You got some plant-based chicken nuggies, plant-based beef. Nice, Eddie.
Indeed. Thank you, Eddie.
Yeah, so even backyard.
Yeah, I like when people bring up these arguments about backyard eggs all the time. Like, why do we always have to talk about this? Like the same things over and over again.
Chickens, that's still exploitation. Even if you have backyard chickens, that's still exploitation. Because, like, think about it in the human context. What if I adopted a bunch of females specifically because they're females and I want to use their ovulation? It's fucking weird. It's fucking weird, and it's not mine. It's not mine to take. That's the wrong reason to adopt somebody. You don't adopt somebody to exploit them. You adopt them because you want to care for them. And then, another thing, like in the egg industry, there's a culling process because it's only the females that can make the eggs. The males can't make the eggs. So what do you think they do with all the baby boys in the egg industry? They kill them the day that they're born. The day that they're born, they separate the males and the females because the males are like considered a waste product since they can't lay eggs. And they kill them the day that they're born for the crime of being born a male. And then the females are just exploited their whole lives. And they're selectively bred and genetically modified to lay like 300 freaking eggs a year. This is extremely hard on their bodies. Chickens in the wild that haven't been tampered with by humans, they're only laying 8 to 15 eggs a year. Just like a human ovulation cycle, because it is an ovulation cycle. But these chickens have been selectively bred and genetically modified to lay eggs almost every single day. It's extremely hard on their bodies. So, and they lose so much nutrients. I've volunteered at animal sanctuaries that have rescued chickens from egg farms. And what they do is they feed the eggs back to the chickens so that they can get some of their nutrients back. That is the humane thing to do. But, and if you think about like having backyard chickens and you buy a bunch of female chickens from an egg farm or a chicken farm or whatever, just picture, okay, so I have let's say you have 6 female chickens. That means 6 baby boys were killed in the culling process because it's the ratio of male to female births in chickens. It's a 1-to-1, So these are other things we just don't think about, but we should think about them because it matters. They often break legs from a calcium deficiency. Yeah, it's true. They can't even. So there's 2 types of chickens in animal.
Something wrong with my stream, I feel like. check on something here. I know there's nobody here either, so I would ask if y'all are seeing this. Maybe Jade copyrighted me. Jade. Okay,
agriculture.
interesting.
There's the egg-laying chickens, which I just talked about. Then there's also what we call broiler chickens, which are like the meat chickens. These chickens are also selectively bred and genetically modified just to be like meat machines,
Yeah.
basically. So by the time they're like 8 weeks old, they can't even stand up. They can't even stand up because they've gotten so fat. Their body can't hold their weight. It's truly heartbreaking. Chickens are like the most exploited land animal on the planet. The most exploited land animal on the planet. We kill tens of billions of them every single year. I think it's like 60 billion of them we kill a year. Don't quote me on that number, but they're the most exploited land animal on the planet. And they're just a bird. Like, and they're smart, you know, they form complex relationships. They are able to feel both physical and emotional pain. They care for their friends and their family. They're similar to us in all of the ways that matter. People like to focus on the differences, but they're similar in all the ways that matter. Hey Jack, circus animals making the most sad, especially the elephants. Yeah, I hate the circus animals. It's so sad. Animals aren't entertainment. Animals are not resources. They're not.
I've seen like some circuses where they'll have like holograms of animals now, which could still be quite impressive, I guess, especially if you're like a young child and you see a giant elephant or something like that, even as a hologram. We're getting there, I suppose.
Ingredients, they're not fashion, they're not clothes, they're not experiments or testing subjects, not entertainment. They're their own individuals. They're their own individuals with their own subjective thoughts and feelings. And they want to live. We're literally animals too. It's true. They can count. Chickens can count. I believe it. You've seen chickens play football. Chickens are so cute. Yeah, but we're an animal too.
If you haven't been able to visit an animal sanctuary, if there is one near you, I highly recommend doing it because you can interact with the animals depending on the sanctuary and how open they are to visitors, of course. But yeah, when I went vegan and learned about like animal sanctuaries, I was able to visit them since there were ones near me. And it was really like kind of the first time that I really interacted with animals like that, with goats and geese and all these really interesting animals. And I I had like sort of a, I mean, I'm just putting it, like I may be reading into it a lot more than I need to be, but the first visit that I went to this place that had goats, there was this goat that came up to me as I was sitting on this stoop, and he put his head against me for like 15 minutes. It was like he was giving me a hug. It was really almost like, I'm not like a spiritual person, but it was kind of like a spiritual, it it felt like a spiritual kind of thing to me a little bit, kind of like a sign that this is the right path. We're providing some good content here
The
between Jade and
human
I.
animal.
Sorry.
Lots of people like
There's
forget
nobody
that.
here
And
yet.
it's like
There's nobody in the
we
stream.
need to have better biology.
I can't figure out YouTube algorithm. My God. Some days I start a stream, there's 10 people in within like seconds. And then some days it's like you start a video and there's nobody.
Classes for people like us. So how could you forget? Us two are animals. I love ducks. Ducks are amazing. Are you OMG? But if I could be any animal. Oh, can you not see the cooking box? If I could be any animal, it would be a duck. They swim, they walk on land, and they can fly. Master of the elements. Ducks are freaking awesome.
That's not bad. That's not bad. I was going to question that choice, but being able to fly, swim, and walk, that's pretty solid. It's hard to argue with. And you can just kind of waddle around, go, wah. Not bad. Not bad. Of course, I would prefer some animal that has like amazing powers or amazing like intelligence, like a octopus or something. But anyway, that's just me.
Yeah, I'll show the cooking process. I don't know the cooking process yet. I'm kind of making it up as I go.
I don't know though. Like ducks, they end up having to eat a lot of bread that people throw at them, right?
They also shouldn't teach that humans are omnivores in biology. Well, humans are, what is the word? I think chance omnivores, what? Omnivores by
Opportunistic.
chance, or I can't think of the word, but basically.
Opportunistic is what she's looking for.
Opportunistic, thank you. Opportunistic omnivores.
No problem, Jade, no problem.
So we can eat animals. We've evolved to be able to eat animals and their products, but we don't have to. And they should teach in biology that humans are healthier not eating animals or the products of animals. The number one cause of death for humans on the planet is heart disease. And when you go vegan, you significantly reduce your risk of getting heart disease or other chronic diseases like cancer and diabetes. They should teach that. They should teach that when you're following a plant-based diet, you're gonna people that follow plant-based diets live longer on average. They should teach that. But you don't have to do it for health. Like if health isn't a concern for you, you can be a junk food vegan. You can be vegan and not be healthy. That's also.
Guys, I straddle both worlds. Health, that's why I've got my edamame here. However, I also have my Reese's cups. So, bit of a mixed bag for me. But I'm munching on the edamame. I'm being good for once. I mean, that's all I usually ever eat on these streams. But the mere presence of the Reese's cups, I mean, let's not pretend that those 2 remaining Reese's cups aren't going to be eaten. They will be. I might try to sneak them so that y'all don't make fun of me.
So possible. You could just eat potato chips and vegan ice cream and whatever and still be vegan. That's fine.
Nilf.
So I think it's important to remember.
Thank you for breaking the seal, Nilf. I was like, what's wrong with the stream? Has it gotten out to anybody? Man, that was a rough couple of minutes there. I thought there was something wrong with the stream. It took some time for people to show up. How you doing, Nilf? Nice to see you. Eating fries and you're vegan. Cope healthy vegans. Yeah. Eat them fries. We don't have to prove anything to anybody. I did go to the gym the other day though, just yesterday, and I mean, someone told me like literally like I was like, yeah, I hit the gym the other day. They were like, yeah, you're looking more buff. And I was like, I went like once in the past like month or so. So there's no way. There's no way. But it was a nice compliment though.
Remember the
I'm definitely
reason
not.
for being
I'm
vegan.
definitely
The
not
reason for
looking
being
buff.
vegan isn't the health
Maybe it was
benefits.
what I was
It's
wearing.
not the environmental benefits. Even though there are health benefits and environmental benefits, the reason to be vegan is because exploiting animals is wrong. Just like how it's like you wouldn't be against racism because it makes you more likely to get a job or whatever, right? It's not about how it benefits you. It's about the fact that it's wrong to exploit animals. But we have the teeth and intestines of herbivores. That's also true. Carnivores have a locked jaw and they can only rip and tear, like chew up and down.
The George interview,
Herbivores,
like that one? I thought that was a fun interview as well. Yeah, George is great. Great stuff. Great stuff. And yeah. Um I feel like he's an really easy person to discuss things with too, even when you disagree about something. So I'm glad you liked that interview, Nil.
are able to like grind plant material. We also like our intestines are the length of herbivores. Carnivores have very short intestines. But
and George like continues like the domination of the United Kingdom on my channel. I mean, the UK folks are winning. So many people that I've interviewed are from the UK, I feel like.
Oh, I forgot what I was going to say. Most people are lactose intolerant anyway. Are people lactose intolerant? Are they lactose intolerant or are they just not a baby cow? You know what I mean? Like the only one that needs to be drinking a cow's milk is her baby. The only one that needs to be drinking a human's milk is her baby. The only one that needs to be drinking a cat's milk is her kitten. The only one that needs to be drinking giraffe milk is their baby.
I like I think it was a Seinfeld episode or something when he was talking about lactose intolerant. And he's like, "Yeah, no, I'm lactose intolerant. I don't I don't care for lactose and I won't stand for it." Something like that.
It's so weird that we drink milk from cows. And we don't think of it as being weird because we grow up with it.
I know.
And it's
I
what we've
know,
been
Nil.
taught.
I know. He calls himself centrist, but as I said to him, I was like, you call yourself centrist, but when it comes to the vegan movement, you definitely seem more right wing. Yeah, he definitely strikes me as someone who would like at least vote more conservative. But as he's pointed out, and he did, in the interview he did with Natalie Fulton, that he does hold both, right and left views, which is true. Typical right or typical left views. Yeah.
Our whole lives. But if you just think about it, it's super freaking weird. And only herbivores sweat. Oh, I didn't know that. Well, thanks for the fact. Hey, Prism,
I
welcome.
knew that, or at least heard that
The term
somewhere.
lactose intolerant is so stupid. I think so too. Nobody's lactose intolerant.
I don't
You're just
tolerate
not
it.
a baby cow.
I don't tolerate lactose.
Go vegan, yes. I've always wondered what the first person who drank cow's milk was thinking. Yeah, it's pretty weird. It's pretty weird. And it's unconsensual. Milking, honestly, milking is molesting. The animals aren't able to give us consent.
Right.
Milking somebody unconsensually is molesting, and it's wrong.
And it's wrong. All right. Great video there, Jade. That did give people a chance to find the stream. So that was meant to be sort of more a warm up for her video that she said was a good one. I said, I'll react to this one. And she was like, oh, watch this other one. Yeah, I interviewed Richard a couple months back, Vegan Gains. That was such an honor. Big old fan of Vegan Gains over here. Love Richard. Yeah, and it was just a very interesting chance to talk to a guy that I have, watched for so long, for years, really since becoming vegan. I've watched Vegan Gains so much because he streams so often that he's really become a staple. When I go onto YouTube, I expect to see some Vegan Gains. All right. I linked to this video. Please go send Jade for Justice some love. Sub to her channel. Give her the Jeremy bump. Go subscribe and be like, Jeremy sent me. All right. Let's react to this one here. She said this one was good. Going vegan in 10 minutes. It is 12 minutes, though, I will point out. So we've got 2 minutes of congratulations. You're vegan.
Why aren't you vegan yet?
Well, I don't want to say the same reason he said, but I mean, I like food, but I'll tell you, I just wanted to say, like, the way I look at it, with the animals that are, live in the wild, animals, kill each other for sustenance.
Yeah, once again, we're on the bingo card. I guess, there's only so many arguments, right? So they're all on the bingo card. But I mean, just so frequent, we have to deal with the same arguments all the time.
And I feel like that's okay. But when I look at it, like, obviously, like, I like animals, I don't want them to have to suffer. When I see, like, these factories and things with, like, all the animals in it, like, it's gross. And I feel like they shouldn't have to live like that. But I also feel like somebody is going to kill that animal.
Whoa.
So I feel like instead of letting that go to waste, we might as well eat it and get something for it. So at least they didn't die for nothing.
Why? Okay. Why do people struggle just to think further, right? Like, it's like, okay, if I didn't eat this, then they died in vain. Wait, let me take this thought a little further. What are the consequences of me eating this? Is it that, oh, this meat doesn't go to waste? Or am I increasing demand? Am I telling the grocery store, please get more of this, order more of that, And, on the flip side of that, not buying what you might have bought instead. We are in an age, if I may get deep about it, and just, I don't know. I just feel like we're in a non-critical thinking age. I know that's not deep, whatever, but it's just critical thinking. It just seems to be so rare now that when someone does it, it's like they become hailed as like a genius, right? And that's how we end up with people who we thought were quite intelligent because they were able to like think a thought through. And then we hear them talk about veganism and animal rights. And we're like, oh, you're not smart. You can't really grasp things. Anyway, y'all know what I'm talking about.
Nothing.
Right, but that's not how supply and demand works. When you pay for an animal product.
Yeah, imagine the pro-human slavery folks 200 years ago saying, well, ants enslave each other, so why can't we? Right. I cheer when someone answers a vegan question the way we would, because usually they never do. Yeah. Well, because then you have to either act upon it, right? Or just like, I don't know, fall on your face, I guess, in life.
You're demanding for more animals to be killed because you're creating the demand for it. That's how supply and demand works. So
Yeah. And I
participants.
mean, I will say, like I said, like with the factories and stuff, like there's so much waste that comes out of that. Like it's not.
By the way, I shouldn't be too harsh on this guy. It sounds like he's about to go vegan. So let's be compassionate to this guy, even though that was a bad argument he made right at the beginning. She dealt with it. She was better, had more patience than me. See, like doing these things sometimes it just makes you like you in your head, you might just want to be like, oh God, you idiot. But you can't say that, right? Unless you're just doing a reaction stream.
It's not like, every animal that they killed is being fed. There's so many of them that are being wasted. And I don't like that. But
Yeah,
also,
the slaughterhouses will exist as long as we pay for them to exist.
Right.
And, as people turn vegan, as more and more people go vegan, slaughterhouses will shut down. As more and more people stop paying for cow's milk, dairy farms will shut down, egg farms will shut down. Now, something else you mentioned was like the wild, and it's fine when animals do it in the wild. I just want to address this really quick. I don't think it's moral for like lions to kill gazelles or whatever. I don't think that's moral, but they're not moral agents. You and I are moral agents. We have the ability to make decision agents. You and I are moral agents. We have the ability to make decisions based on whether they're right or wrong. These wild animals that kill, they also rape each other. They also kill their own babies sometimes and eat them. So we shouldn't be getting our morals from them, right?
well, I mean, like I said, I'm not gonna not eat them if I like it when, they are going to be killed. Like even if I become a vegan, it's gonna keep happening. So I'm not gonna.
And just because you're not assaulting women, that doesn't mean women aren't being assaulted. So why not assault women?
Great.
Well,
great answer.
We both know that's not what I said.
No,
That's
that is what like it's just yeah. It's not exactly what you said, but she's pointing out how absurd it is.
I
know that you don't believe in assaulting women, but it's the same logic. I'm applying your logic to another situation. Just because it's still happening doesn't mean that you should be the reason that it's still happening.
Exactly.
I'm aware that by me being vegan, the whole world's not going to go vegan just because I'm vegan. Right.
Well, also, I mean, I don't look at it in that sense of, I don't look at it. I don't want to, when I say this, obviously, I don't mean that there is no right or wrong in the world. But when I look at it in that sense, when the same way that, animals, I feel like plants have that same essence that all animals and living things have. And if we're going to eat plants.
Plants are not sentient. There's no scientific research like showing that plants are sentient. Do you know what sentience is?
Yeah, I know.
The problem is like people have written blogs and stuff, and they've done really interesting studies about plants that are, plants are extraordinary. They're wonderful. We love plants. But people take that and then they say, oh, plants are sentient. They're not sentient. Why? I feel like it's common sense. We know this, but, sometimes, based on really cool studies that have been done or research or, really well-intentioned things, just explaining to us how extraordinary plants can be. Now we have this shit. And then a lot of it is, intentionally done for this reason.
Yeah, so there's no evidence showing that plants are sentient. But even if we did find out that plants are sentient, this would still be in favor of veganism because the animals that we're forcing into existence are also eating plants. So a plant-based diet actually uses less plants than an animal-based diet. But, you know, nobody ever becomes a plant-based advocate or a plant's lives advocate until somebody brings up veganism. I think we all know that plants aren't sentient. You know,
Right.
nobody's going to flinch if I'm cutting up a carrot. People will flinch if, like, somebody kicks a dog or whatever.
I'm trying to think of how to put like what I'm thinking.
Honestly, the silence is probably the best response that I've heard to something like that, because usually people start talking some dumb shit. Thinking a little bit is a good sign, right?
Yeah, take your time. I appreciate that you think about what you say before you say it. Lots of people.
Yeah, I don't want to just, I don't know.
Yeah, good point, Nilf. That only works for vegetables anyway, not fruits. A fruit isn't even the plant, it's the seed for future plants. They want them to drop from the tree. Yeah, and I mean, plants continually are growing. They're not like, you know, you're not always destroying the plant. You might be, but right. Yeah.
I get where you're coming from. I get what all you're saying, and I get like, I just feel like for me, like when I look at it like that, like if I would want to do something about like needlessly killing animals, but when I look at it, I do see it as like, you know, animals are.
No. The fact that Jade exists and is talking to you across a screen, you know, which you're on, which indicates a certain amount of access to technology and privilege, indicates that it is needless for you to kill animals.
Like that meat is a form of sustenance. I feel like it isn't, you know, I don't, this is what I was going to say. When I look at, like, I don't say like there is no right or wrong. I don't mean it like that. But, you know, like in the world, you know, in creation, like things happen and like these things aren't, you know,
Things happen though. There it is. Veganism destroyed. Things happen though.
everything is neutral, really. You know, these things only have meaning when we.
Everything's new. Wait, what does that even mean? Everything's neutral? Is murder neutral? No. Like, neutral how? Like, what does that even mean?
Put it to it. So
You think everything is neutral? You think exploitation, rape, murder, you think they're neutral?
that's why I wanted to preface it by saying that. That's not what I mean by that. I'm just saying things happen in the world. I'm not talking about hurting, you know, when you go out of your way to hurt other people and things like that, you know. Would you agree that there are humane ways to
Ways to exploit animals, humane ways to kill. So
Yeah.
humane means with compassion and benevolence, right? So there's actually no humane way to kill somebody that does not want to die. There's no humane way to exploit somebody. And like, so you said one thing I want to address before moving on to this. You said it's wrong to do it needlessly, but it's always needless. You know, we can.
Yeah, indeed, Nilf. Indeed. By the way, Nilf, while I've got you here, you've got some content, right? Maybe we should react to some of your content. Do you want to recommend a video to me or anything like that? If you want me to, if you'd prefer to. Let me see if you're modded so that you can send links. If you want that, let me know. I don't want to just do something without your consent. See? What's this guy's name? I don't know if we got his name.
Survive and thrive on a plant-based diet. We don't need to exploit animals at all. In fact, you can be healthier on a plant-based diet. You know, the science has shown that plant-based diets are just overall healthier for humans. Like, you live longer, you're at a lower risk of chronic disease. So it's all needless. The exploitation of animals is always needless.
Uh-oh.
And then, so
You mean you're going to go commit a plant genocide on your lawn? Monster. Monster, Nil. Okay, another time then. Appreciate you coming. And yeah, next time, feel free to send me one of your vids and we can check them out. What's up, Alicia? Nice to see you.
so the next thing you said was about a humane way to do it. There is no humane way to do it. Like, if you think about this in the human context, I think it's easier to picture why it's not humane. You know, like, what if I adopted some kids and like they needed a place, so I adopted them, and I take really good care of them and I feed them well. And then at some point, you know, they live a good, happy life. So I kill them and use their skin or something. I use their organs or whatever. Or I like the taste of human flesh, so I cook their flesh. Or, like, let's talk about it for dairy or whatever.
Mhm.
I adopt some females specifically because they're females and because I want to use their breast milk and their eggs. And so that's why I adopted them, and I take great care of them, and I take their ovulation and their breast milk. It's not mine to take. It's just not mine to take. And, you know, like, on the topic of breast milk, you know, they have to be pregnant to be producing milk. So there is always rape involved in the dairy industry, you know, and separation of families because the baby wants to drink the mother's milk, and that's just not profitable to the dairy industry. So even in the most humane ways, there's no humane way to do it, right? There's no humane way to exploit somebody else. Like,
Ooh, Nil.
you know what I mean?
Nil. You get off on their screen. So you sadistically, you don't even just, you're not even mowing the lawn because someone told you, you know, your lawn is looking shameful. You need to mow that thing. You do it for the sick pleasure you derive from, let's face it, just torturing and murdering plants. That is sick. That's sick, Nil. I hope you think about that while you're mowing your lawn. Guys, I'm sorry that happened. I'm sorry you had to witness that. I'm sorry that we have people in the chat that think it's okay to do that. I apologize. You know, I need to, you know, put a little bit more of a filter on my chat, you know. Here's Vogon Poetry saying he loves that content. Wow. Vogon. Wow. Unbelievable. What's up, Neil? How are you doing? Okay. Just so we're clear, I like Neil. Just making that clear. Because you know what? Sometimes I joke around. I know it's obvious, but sometimes people, even in sometimes very obvious cases, don't realize I'm joking. So I'm going to try to say it sometimes. Not always, though.
When you think about it from the human context, it's easier to understand that.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, you're right. I completely agree with you, honestly. I feel like the problem, like when I look at it, is like when when you go to get a burger or something like that, there's no personality behind that.
Right.
You know, you're not equating that to a human thing. Like when I would never like myself.
He's doing it. I know. So, I mean, it says going vegan in 10 minutes. So the ending is spoiled, I guess. But we can see that he's not, he did a little bit of excuse searching, but he didn't, you know, this is like the rare times when someone's actually like really open to being challenged and have their mind rattled a little bit.
I would never kill an animal and eat it. I couldn't do that. But I know what you mean. Like when I do that, there's no like personalization behind it. You know what I mean? I'm not looking at this food like, oh, this came from somewhere.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that's
like what we've been conditioned to believe, you know? Like, obviously, like, I think if you tell like a small child that, like, hey, this piece of meat is an animal that was alive, that wanted to live, that got their life was taken to be turned into a sandwich. I think anybody would be upset and not want to do that anymore. But we've been conditioned from a very young age to like compartmentalize and see like dog, friend, cow,
Right.
milk, pig, food, chicken, eggs. But that's just not right. All of these animals, they have their own subjective experience and they all want to live, and they are individuals. So even though like I hear you, you don't think like you don't see a burger and think, oh, that was somebody that wanted to live. But it was. And I think that you should think about that, because you don't have to pay for animals to be exploited for your food. You could just get a vegan burger.
Yeah. I'm going to let you talk to somebody else, because I think I might be a vegan now.
Yeah,
I'm not even going to lie.
David, that's really great to hear. And
David,
like if you
David, put a W in the chat for David. And I mean, we don't know if he's like completely serious yet, if he's gone vegan, but it sounds like he did, because you could just hear it, that he wasn't like desperately searching for those excuses. He said the ones that were off the top of his head. He got it out of the way. Like I said, I feel like the silence that she gave him, which is another, like, that was another thing that I learned from, oh God, I am Justin. Why am I blanking on his channel's name right now? I'm sorry, guys. I'm having a real brain fog moment. It's the B12. Justin, what's his channel name? God, this is embarrassing. Anyway, Justin Jacobs, he said, like in these moments where someone's thinking and it's quiet and it can be uncomfortable because we feel like we always have to fill every silence. These are the moments where someone's really thinking. And I feel like that moment where she hit him with a pretty good answer and then he was just silent for a little while thinking was a great moment to like let simmer. All right. It's a theory. Okay. I don't know, but I have a theory based on what Justin said in that moment that might be the most important moment when someone's quietly thinking to not cut in. What do you guys think? It's based on no evidence, just what I think.
If you have any other questions or anything, I'm happy to address whatever. I would also highly recommend screenshot the live so you can remember these videos. But the first YouTube video Dominion documentary, this is just like the standard practices in the animal industry. It's kind of difficult to watch, I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah,
but it's really eye-opening, and I think that like the least we could do for the animals is to see them. So I would really recommend just watching however much.
The least we can do for the animals is to see them was a great line. And yeah, when people are talking about, and by the way, I understand when people can't watch those films. A lot of great activists can't watch those films or don't want to watch those films. That's fine. But I do think if you think that it would be necessary for someone to see it, for them to make that connection, if they're struggling with, a fear of seeing brutality, just remind them that it's like just a few hours of discomfort for you versus their entire existence. And like Jade said so nicely, the least we can do is see them or bear witness or, whatever. So anyway, that's right. That was a great line. Well said, Jade.
Much of it you can. The second point on the screen is a lot easier to watch. This is an ethical speech, and it kind of just goes through all the ethical principles of veganism. And, you sound like a really smart guy. This speech literally changed the way that I think. So I can't recommend it enough. And in here, I'd be interested to hear your thoughts. Oh yeah, and the third thing on the screen, Challenge 22. If you want support transitioning to a plant-based diet, this is a great team of like experienced plant-based dieters, registered dietitians. If you have any questions about whatever specifics If you sign up at Challenge 22, you should get an email from them by like tomorrow, and they can give you some extra support.
All right.
David,
Is there
solid, dude.
anything else I can address while I have you here, my dear?
No, I'll go ahead and go. Not waste your time. You can talk to somebody else.
All right,
Awesome.
David, you have.
That was really kind. Also saying like, you know, I'll get out your way now because I'm probably vegan. Like, let me let you do your thing. Pretty awesome. That must have felt great to have that happen because, you know, a lot of times, you know, you don't get these types of results. So that was phenomenal, phenomenal work by Jade.
Have an amazing vegan life.
I mean, she may have
and you're
just
more than
changed this.
welcome to come back in here anytime.
She may have just changed this guy's life and obviously made the world better for animals. So that's amazing. I linked to the video right there, guys. Please go and like it, you know, subscribe to Jade for Justice because she does awesome work. And if you're sort of more interested, if you're on TikTok, that's where I believe she does most of her debating and stuff. So she does have the YouTube channel. Definitely subscribe to the YouTube channel. But I think if you're on TikTok, make sure you follow her there as well. All right. Okay. This popped into my feed. This guy, Chris Bryant. I've seen a few of his videos lately, and the name struck my attention. Are there saboteurs in the animal movement? I'm going to side eye everybody in this chat because I don't know. I don't know. Saboteurs? Are y'all here? Are you here, saboteurs? If you are, please click like and subscribe. All right, Chris Bryant, PhD. Let me just put that on the screen there. How do people reach me with vids? What do you mean? You mean, oh, I think you're asking like, how do I find these? Like they just come across my feed, you know, like based on what I watch. And every now and then people recommend me stuff like you did, like Jeffrey did, Chris Bryant, PhD. Oh, send videos? You mean like how can you send me a video? Well, you're a mod, Alicia, so you can link. You can just send me vids. Yeah. Anybody can anybody who's modded can send a link. And that was ultimately why, you know, I modded you. Because I don't really feel like I need moderators in this channel. You know, at least not yet. I mean, nobody's really come in here. One guy did come in here and like make some weird. I feel like he made some weird like thing about jerking off or something in the chat, which was like crossing the line. I think based on the way he was doing it, I realize I make sexual jokes all the time, but it was like very inappropriate. Anyway, let's check out this vid. Are there saboteurs? The answer is yes. But who are they? I don't know.
What would you do to handle the problem of the animal movement if you were the CEO of a factory farming company? Lobby for laws to prevent filming on factory farms?
The so-called ag-gag
Ooh, this is going to be a creepy one. He's got the music building already, and oh man.
laws are gaining support across the Midwest and opposition from across the country.
Aggressively litigate against activists who rescue animals?
Costco brought a federal lawsuit against me, my colleagues, and the Direct Action Everywhere
Who's that guy?
network. Costco brought a federal lawsuit against me, my colleagues, and the Direct Action Everywhere network, attempting to ban us from Costco stores and seek tens of thousands of dollars in damages.
Infiltrate the animal movement and sabotage from within? It's an interesting perspective to consider, because here you have somebody whose motivations and goals are almost exactly opposite to a vegan's. Vegans feel a moral responsibility to try to reduce the number of animals on factory farms. Factory farming CEOs have not only an economic incentive, but a fiduciary responsibility to try to increase the number of animals on factory farms, all else being equal. Now, if you're the CEO of a factory farming company, it's a bit of a challenging environment. Look at the UK. Average meat consumption decreased 17% between 2008 and 2019, while the number of people avoiding meat altogether almost doubled during the same period.
What?
The CEO of a factory farming company is overseeing a period where average meat consumption is going down because an effective animal movement is getting more and more people to give up meat. That's a problem for them. If this trend looks like it's continuing in a way which is going to leave factory farming companies with loads of assets like slaughterhouses and factory farms which are now worthless, so-called stranded assets, the shareholders are probably going to vote to get rid of that CEO in favor of one with a better chance of fixing that.
Right. What's up, Mary? Nice to see you. You just finished cooking dinner, eh? Karmic conundrum when your success is death of sentient beings. Correct. Yes. I did mod you, Dennis. You got modded, but very swiftly unmodded. That was to send a video, right? I've been well, Dennis. How have you been? That's what happens to non-vegans, you know. They can get a little taste of the power, but it gets taken right away. Because in this channel, only justice prevails. Only justice prevails, Dennis.
In other words, the people who are CEOs of factory farming companies are, by definition, those who are willing to most ruthlessly focus on the profitability and or growth of factory farming. That means slashing costs, like animal welfare measures, boosting demand by funding misinformation on health and the environment, and crushing opposition in the animal movement. Now, when I say they want to crush opposition in the animal movement, obviously they can't just go mowing down people in the tofu aisle. But they can't do nothing either. The animal movement is an existential threat to their businesses. Well, what can they do? They've got lots of resources, but they need to stick within the bounds of the law. They can employ people to...
Well, that was an interesting statement, wasn't it?
run all...
Let's hear that again.
Well, what can they do? They've got lots of resources, but they need to stick within the bounds of the law.
They ought to. Do they? I'm not making a statement one way or the other. I'm just putting the question out there.
They can employ people to run all sorts of interferences as long as they're technically sticking to the rules. We've already seen evidence of how they support misleading science, like the Dublin Declaration.
We recently designed or drafted a manuscript that is called the Dublin Declaration.
And attempt to criminalize activist activity, for example, with ag-gag laws making it illegal to film on factory farms. One other method that they might consider is infiltrating and sabotaging the animal movement from within. In 2008, Mother Jones exposed a now infamous corporate spy known as Mary Lou Sapone. Sapone, who sometimes went by her maiden name, Mary McFate, was made famous for infiltrating gun control groups on behalf of the NRA. But her resume of infiltrating activist groups goes back further than that. In the late 1980s, the animal movement in the US was focused on vivisection. Sapone was employed by the US Surgical Corporation to infiltrate an animal rights group in Connecticut. According to reporting by Mother Jones,
Connecticut. It's Connecticut. But this guy's very smart. I'm not making fun. I know this ain't your country. It's okay. It's okay.
Infiltrate an animal rights group in Connecticut. According to reporting by Mother Jones, Sapone...
Just to help them, you don't pronounce the C. Connecticut.
Gathered group in Connecticut. According to reporting by Mother Jones, Sapone gathered evidence on an activist who would later serve jail time for planting a pipe bomb near the parking space of the company's CEO. The activist would eventually accuse Sapone of coaxing her into the plot. Now look.
Yeah, so, okay. let's say you're doing activism and you're just like going about your biz or whatever, and someone in your group starts to talk about illegal stuff. You should flag that in your head as like, you know, a potential, obviously a red flag, but also a red flag for sabotage. Because a lot of times when people have infiltrated the environmental movement or the animal rights movement to sabotage it, they have been the ones that have encouraged sort of some of the more, for lack of a better word, extreme actions.
I'm not advocating that anybody should be planting pipe bombs, and whether or not this activist was coaxed into doing it, clearly she's responsible for her own actions. But the point here is that there is evidence of corporate spying on animal rights groups going back at least 30 years.
And by the way, good chance to point out the Wired article and the Intercept article that came out. I showed you all this last time, but it's such a good story that let's show it again. But maybe he's about to do that too, but let's just show you. Wired.com, how the farm industry spied on animal rights activists and pushed the FBI to treat them as bioterrorists. For years, a powerful big ag trade group served up information on activists to the FBI. Records reveal a decade-long effort to see the animal rights movement labeled a bioterrorism threat. The Animal Agriculture Alliance, AAA. They not only help you on the road. I'm just kidding. Yeah. Oh, who's that group? Direct Action Everywhere, of course. Yeah. Intelligence on the activities of Direct Action Everywhere with records of emails, attending meetings. Zoe Rosenberg here. We got some profile information about her case. Who's facing charges in California for removing 4 chickens. Anyway, this is a great article, guys. If y'all have not read this article, please do so. And, you know, share it around on your social media, all that sort of stuff. So anyway, there's that. He may just be about to show us that.
Given how many resources we know the animal industries put into lobbying and misinformation today, wouldn't we be fools not to assume that there is also some attempt at sabotage going on?
Oh,
if you
there
were
is.
to try to sabotage the modern animal movement, what kind of strategies might you use? You would want to behave in a way which is disruptive to the movement's goals without making it obvious.
And by the way, some of these people are obvious. Some of them are not obvious, obviously. But some of them are really easy to see, right? Like, I mean, like they just move different, act different. Like a lot of people in these groups already know each other. So coming into a group where nobody knows you, there's already going to be some question, right? Like that doesn't mean these groups aren't welcome and you're able to. It's funny when like spies or infiltrators try and infiltrate a group like Direct Action Everywhere, who is extremely open about what they're doing. So it kind of minimizes the risk of you know, and the effectiveness. In some ways, it's like, hey, welcome, infiltrator. Enjoy the presentation.
Obvious that you're trying to sabotage. One thing that you could do is to amplify and.
Let me catch up on the chat. Sorry. Dennis, late again. You know, that's, you know, late responses. Can't be having a mod who's late. You know what I mean? Dennis, you know what I mean? No, I'm just playing with you.
spread talking points which feasibly seem like something that a vegan might believe, but in fact advance the interests of factory farms.
Right.
In a moment, we're going to take a look at the saboteurs' top talking points for the animal movement. Before we do that, it's worth noting.
So in the movement, I have encountered obvious infiltrators. I've encountered obvious industry flacks, and I have suspected other people of doing that without knowing for sure. But I've had people that I suspect, and yeah, just again with groups like DXC, it's just kind of funny to see because yeah, often they'll someone will try to like sneak in to a public event. Like, okay. I had one of my buddies was saying like how they used to like deal with like infiltrators. They're like, well, can you hold a sign? Can you like be useful while you're doing this?
That you can find plenty of vegans who really do believe these things sincerely. In fact, even if these talking points were being maliciously spread by an undercover meat industry operative, they would be being spread to naive vegans in the hope that they would repeat them. So anytime you hear these talking points from vegans, it's more likely that you're hearing them from a naive vegan than from a saboteur themselves. So don't watch this video.
That's a good point. Very good point.
To some talking points that your friend said and then go and accuse them of being a saboteur.
Exactly. And one of the dangers of this is that you know, they know that stories and, in some ways talking about this kind of spreads the fear, right? Like you start looking over your shoulder, who can I trust? Who, whatever, don't get into that either, But essentially hold your head high. Like we're doing the right thing, We know that animal agriculture is harming trillions of animals, and just be confident in yourself that standing against that is the correct position.
Instead, send them this video and let them be reassured that the meat industry has been absolutely cynical in spreading these talking points and seeding them within the vegan movement. Let's take a look at the saboteurs' top talking points. Number 1, insisting on other forms of purity. Not only is this an extremely effective way to limit the size and growth of the animal movement, it's also a very feasible thing to do in left-leaning movements.
Wow, this is a timely video, especially right after the George Martin interview that I did. There's a nice theme, building here.
You can find people who will say you can't be a part of the animal movement unless you're also an anti-capitalist.
Right.
I mean, what a brilliant way to cut more than in half what is already a tiny movement. And why don't we alienate some potential funders while we're at it, by the way? From the animal's perspective, this sort of purity testing on non-animal issues is extremely unproductive. It limits our growth as a movement and it hurts animals. We need to stop it. Number 2, opposing clear welfare labeling. You can find vegans who will oppose any welfare labeling schemes ostensibly because they endorse some level of animal exploitation. Now, there are misleading welfare labeling schemes out there. The fundamental problem is that optional welfare labels only apply to high welfare products.
I think I saw this guy, I'm pretty sure it was him, doing a discussion with Isaac or Ask Yourself. And I believe he was saying that in his view, like one of the most effective things, and by the way, this guy has like completely solid intentions, I believe. I do disagree with him on this, that like one of the best uses of your time would be to like advocate for bigger cages, because you can be effective for that and, raise the cost of animal ag. I pretty fervently disagree with that. While I'm not against welfare, I'm not against advocating welfarism or against welfare laws. Of course, I support them. I guess I shouldn't say of course, because that's not a given, and that's not a given view. It's actually a pretty contentious view, but in any case, just to give you some background. Now, this is interesting, like that he's saying an infiltrator tactic could be, or is, he's kind of actually presenting it as though he knows, would be opposing all labeling, like welfare labeling. I didn't know that. But let's see.
Problem is, now there are misleading welfare labeling schemes out there. The fundamental problem is that optional welfare labels only apply to high welfare products, and they leave factory farmed products completely unlabeled. What we need is mandatory welfare labels, which apply to all animal products, including, in fact, especially factory farmed products. No clear rules around welfare labeling means that factory farms can slap any old welfare washed label on there and sell factory farmed products as if they're high welfare. Number 3, opposing alternative proteins. If you don't want to eat things that remind you of meat, that's
interesting. See, honestly, this is not what I would think of when I think about infiltration. So this is an interesting take. First one, yes. Second and third, not really what I think about. Could be right, though.
totally up to you. But don't buy into the meat industry talking points that plant-based meat alternatives are unhealthy because they're ultra-processed.
Right.
This is just not true. I've written about this issue extensively in this article called The Ultra-Processed Myth, and in this paper, plant-based animal products are healthier and more environmentally sustainable than animal products. Again, if you want to do a whole foods plant-based diet, more power to you. Nobody is going to force Beyond Burgers down your throat. But please, please stop spreading the misinformation that plant-based meat alternatives are unhealthy because they're ultra-processed. Not only is it untrue, it hurts animals and it helps the factory farms.
I'm just curious though, like what is he basing this sort of presentation of sort of being certain that these are some of the signs of infiltration? Like, does he have some sort of evidence of this? I don't know. It's interesting food for thought. I don't know if I agree that this is infiltrator behavior, but it certainly could be. There is someone, I will not name them. There is someone that, this was years ago, that I did suspect of being an infiltrator based on their behavior. And one of the things that they did was to really vociferously go after one of the alternative meats.
Again, please bear in mind that while these 3 talking points would be excellent for a meat industry saboteur to adopt, you're most likely going to hear them from sincere vegans if you do hear them. So please don't go to the next vegan conference and shout saboteur at everyone who says these things.
Saboteur.
Or maybe do, actually. That could be quite a funny way to raise this conversation.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Are there saboteurs?
Okay. Listen. Saboteurs, in my chat, show yourselves. Self-identify, or I will identify you for you. Dennis, are you sabotaging the animal movement? Dennis? I just can't. I don't want to joke around too much like that. That's actually could be harmful, I guess, right? Could kind of be harmful. I think just like kind of moral of the story when you're dealing with people is just be smart. Don't go around distrusting everybody, but just be observant, I guess. That's what I'm saying.
In the animal movement. Honestly, I think it's more likely than not that there are, based on the economic incentives at play and based on the use of similar tactics against the animal movement in recent history. That said, sabotage is very hard to identify accurately. The fact is that poor strategy looks identical to sabotage. The main point of this video is to encourage vegans to be a little bit more critical of talking points that they might have picked up, and think about the impact of those talking points on the vegan movement and on animals. Instead of insisting that all of our allies have to be aligned with all of our positions, let's make space for an ideologically diverse set of allies to help advance the cause for animals. Instead of writing off all animal welfare labeling schemes as welfare washing, advocate for mandatory schemes which make it clear which products are coming from factory farms. Instead of talking about plant-based meats being ultra-processed, talk about them being lower in saturated fat and calories while being higher in fiber than meat from animals. If you go looking for sabotage, you probably won't find it, but you might find that some of your talking points could be reframed more constructively to help animals. If you want to get smarter in the way that you talk about vegan issues, you know what to do. This is Chris Bryant, PhD. Cheers.
Cheers. Well, us all out, didn't he? Thanks. Make us more paranoid. That was a good video, though. I liked it. I do think there could be a bit of a harm in a little bit could be a bit of a harm. Nilf has the nerve to show his face again. Unbelievable. After committing a Holocaust on his lawn, Nilf thinks he's welcome back. Talk about sabotage, right? Anyway, here's the link for that video. Please show this guy some love, give him a subscribe, give him the Jeremy bump. He needs the Jeremy bump. Give him the bump. I thought that was a pretty smart video. I liked it. And I mean, he's got PhD in his name, so obviously it was smart, right? No matter how it sounded. All right. I've got this one from Christspiracy. Haven't watched it all the way through. Watched a bit of it. Jesus, Meat, and MAGA. You've never seen this before. But Cam, I did see a few minutes of it. I know it's only 4 minutes, but I watched like a minute or something of this. So kind of have seen it before. So you're being a little misleading, Cam. I wish that you would be a little more truthful in the presentation of your videos. But, Okay, let me change the screen. No Dairy Mary. I like that. Nilfspiracy over here. Nilfspiracy. I appreciate you, Nilf. All right, Jesus, Meat, and MAGA. You've never seen this before, even if you have.
What would Jesus do when it comes to killing an animal?
You've never seen it like this. You've never seen this video. Even if you watch this video, you've never seen it with the insightful commentary, the wisdom, the charm, the wit, the cringe, the boring, and just the whiffs that I offer up as additions to the video. You've never seen it like this before.
What do you mean? Well, can you break that down a little bit more?
Hey, it's Cam here from Christspiracy, and I am in Pickens, South Carolina on the 4th of July to talk to Christian conservative brothers and sisters about life, liberty, and justice for all beings. Let's make Christians again.
Is there a right way to kill a beast? Justified imagery of blood on the streets.
But I love your shirt and wanted to ask you some about it. What's led you to do this?
And I meet a lot of amazing people, and it's changed my life. So it's like a family reunion, like it's a celebration.
You're a Christian?
Yeah, I would say I was a Christian. I'm on a journey to build a relationship with the Creator.
Do you feel you lean into conservative values then?
Absolutely.
Okay. Do you agree in life, liberty, and justice for all?
Absolutely.
What about
one of those videos I saw of like people who are just out in front selling like the MAGA merch and stuff? They were like, did not care about politics at all. I can't remember what video I was watching. It was like maybe Jordan Klepper or somebody, but they were just cashing in.
I respect everything.
For all views then?
Absolutely.
Okay. Do you agree in life, liberty, and justice for all?
Absolutely.
What about for animals?
I respect everything. Whenever I'm in any kind of doubt, what I actually do is I look to nature. Nature is the judge of all things. There's one thing that man can't conquer, and that's nature. When you start to break down the human mind, we're supposed to be one of the most intelligent species on the planet, but yet we're the only ones that pay to live on it. We're the most unnatural creatures on this planet.
Do you think Jesus ate animals?
I don't know. I wasn't there. I don't know.
That's a fair answer.
Yeah, I mean, I think most.
Wait, what is nil? Oh God, Nil's just rubbing it in right now. It was a good time. Did wait a long time for a new coaster, and then the sun went down, and we sat in the front seat and crushed a bunch of bugs. We were covered in sorry bugs. Nature, no. I don't know. I don't know about this guy. Seems like a saboteur to me.
Most of the time, when you don't know, you should just. say
Although
you
if
don't.
he's just very open about it, maybe it's not sabotage. It's just nilfery.
Oh no! Instead of trying to make something up, I don't. But when you start to break down the human nature and the way that the human body is set up, if we were supposed to be eating meat like that, we would have had claws like wild animals. We would have fangs and much more powerful bite force. We would probably be able to run a little bit faster to be able to catch our prey. So no, we're not supposed to be eating meat. Actually, that's funny you say that because I just went vegetarian a few weeks ago.
Oh, you did?
Well,
Okay.
I'm cutting out
sorry, I
dairy
didn't
too.
mean-
It's very hard to get rid of dairy, but I'm cutting dairy out. We're
I
the only
thumbs-
species that drinks another mammal's
I
milk.
thumbs up the step. I didn't mean to imply that vegetarian's the best. It's not the best.
That's crazy. With all the mucus that it creates, we just got to get away from these things that bring us dis-ease, which is disease. I mean, you're talking about an animal with a spirit. So when you're eating that flesh, that's where they get all these blood sacrifices. You're eating the blood of another animal, which contains all these impurities and all these soul ties. Like, okay, you take a cow and you put that cow in captivity, and then that cow has a baby. When you take that calf away from that cow is sad. That cow is depressed.
Based.
And that
Based. He's way more informed than I would have expected based on someone who said that they just went vegetarian, especially. He's actually describing dairy right now. That's kind of odd that he's not vegan. But it sounds like he's thinking about it.
and all that seeps into the meat. It seeps into the bloodstream. You got rotten flesh.
Yeah, right. We sat down in the seat and everything was covered in bugs. So that was a downside. But next time we'll go in the back seat and be better protected. Always use protection, Nil.
Sitting in your body, sitting in your stomach. You are what you eat.
Preach, brother. Preach. I hear you. So do you think there is a spiritual way to kill an animal? Or even more specifically, what would Jesus do when it comes to killing an animal?
That's a funny question because, I mean, Jesus was Jesus. I don't think that he would be out killing animals and stuff like that. I mean, actually, when you think about it, you got the turtle. That's the longest living animal on the planet. That's a vegetarian. The gorilla is the strongest land animal. That's a vegetarian. The elephant is the largest land animal. That's a vegetarian.
When Jesus went into the temple, he called the temple a den of thieves. You might have heard that statement before, but the actual Hebrew, he's quoting Jeremiah, the prophet. And Jeremiah said, you've made the temple a den of thieves, 500 more years before Christ. And when he quotes Jeremiah, the Hebrew there, because Jesus read the Hebrew Bible, and the Hebrew isn't den of people who steal things. The word is piritz.
Piritz. Yeah, so that's interesting. Yes, I never realized that. That's a kind of aha moment.
Which is den of and the only thing being in the temple were animals. It wasn't people.
I'm telling you.
Oh, yeah. So this is what we're about.
Make Christians vegan again. I love it.
So good. Christspiracy.com. Man, I hope lots of people are watching that movie because it's so good. And Cam is so great with his street outreach, isn't he? Isn't he good? He's awesome. Y'all didn't even agree with me that he's good. I didn't get a confirmation. Wow, y'all are rude. I'm just kidding, of course. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know why I'm acting this way. I don't know why I do the things that I do, but I do them. Nilf, well, I go with my mom, so I don't think I need protection. Well, okay. I heard that you went in the back seat. That's what I read. So I thought maybe I misread the situation there. Nilf, maybe I misread what you meant. Yeah, how does Christspiracy have 7K subs? Let's go get it, the Jeremy bump. Everybody who's not subbed to Christspiracy on YouTube, do so now. And there's 9 people in this room right now, 9 people in this chat. So if you are not subbed to Christspiracy, first of all, how dare you? And second of all, it's okay. You can fix it right now. So make sure that you sub. You licked the video. Good. Yes, make sure you also lick the video. It's important. It helps with the algorithm. And it's also fun. Make sure you make sure you lick my video. Have y'all licked my video, by the way? Yet. I understand that some of you may not have yet licked it, but please do lick away. Lick away. Thank you, Neil. All right. I told y'all, well, nobody was here yet. The stream took a little time to get going. It took a little time for people to find the stream, but I told y'all we were going to go back to Climate Town. Yes, we are. We're going back to Climate Town because we've seen already 2 incredible videos from Climate Town. And this one, which is on their channel, is called Your Food is Lying to You. So I assume there's going to be something good in there, right? I will withhold my like until I have watched the video. But I am ready. If the video delivers on its promise, 1 million views, by the way. God, I got to get some views. That'd be amazing. That'd be amazing to see a 1M next to one of my videos. Anyway, a guy can dream, The way that you do that is you lick my videos, guys. If you want to help me get to a 1 million subs, we're close. We're getting there. We're almost to 1 million subs. In the grand scheme of things, we're closer to 1 million than we are to like 10 million, right? So like we're pretty close to 1 million by that logic. So not far off. Let's get to 1 million subs during this stream. If we don't get to 1 million subs during this stream, I will delete my channel. I will delete it because I feel it can be done. Even they don't have 1 million subs, but they got 1 million views. So I'll settle for 1 million views on this stream. I'm sorry, I'm rambling. Let's stop that. Okay. I was going to change the speed because I don't know if I have the rights. We haven't had any problems, but do we have the right to do this? I don't know. I don't know. Neil's lurking. Okay. Why does my stream taste like dirty bath water? Well, Nilf, I feel like that was a bit judgmental. You think I've been working too hard this week? It's been okay. It's been okay. Does it seem like I'm tired? Why does my stream taste a bit like dirty bath water? Well, it's because it's because I am very vigilant about bathing and staying clean. Okay, that's why. That's why, NILF.
If you've been to a grocery store lately, you've probably noticed that all of America's food is ominously stamped with the day that food will die. I'm talking, of course, about expiration dates, which are also the premise of a 2011 movie with Justin Timberlake.
Oh, is this going to be about if so, we'll watch a little ways and we'll see. But if I don't really care about that. Anyway, let's
called In Time. Your time was stamped on your arm, and when your time was up, you expired. And if you're from Gen Z and you didn't realize Justin Timberlake was also an actor, he wasn't. But he didn't let that stop him from being in a ton of movies. When it comes to food, expiration dates might say expires on, or best by, or used by, or even the magnificent for wholesome great taste served before date stamped below. But all of these expiration date labels have one very important thing in common. They have nothing to do with whether the food is actually expired.
Okay.
That's right. These so-called expiration dates on your food are not and have never been about whether your food is safe to eat. And this is not just my Andy Rooney get off my lawn opinion. It is the official position of these safety-loving dorks at both the FDA and the USDA. The date you see on packaging is usually just some guy's best guess at when you're going to have the optimal taste experience. But the mere presence of a date on food packaging leads to 84% of consumers and 100% of...
Okay, while this is probably an interesting topic and something that people should know, I just don't care. I don't care about the expiration date thing. So let's just see if that's all this video is going to be
grocery
about.
Stores throwing away perfectly good food because a box told them to. And while listening to a charismatic box can sometimes be a perfectly fine choice, in this case, misleading...
Okay, that honestly, I planned for this to be the bulk of the video. So if anybody has any video they want to recommend, this was it for me. This is what I pulled up.
Expiration dates are a major contributing factor in the United States wasting 40% of our total food supply. Yeah, 40 with a D. Of all the food that gets grown or imported in the United States, we don't eat almost 40% of it. And the vast majority of that gets trucked to a landfill where it piles up, ferments, and turns into methane. And not to get too climate changey on you, but methane has a bad habit of f***ing off into the atmosphere where...
Not to get too climate changey on you on a YouTube channel called Climate Town. Please don't, please. What's his name? Robbie? I think his name's Robbie. Robbie, don't you talk about climate change now.
Where it lives the rest of its life as a greenhouse gas that traps heat 80 times more than carbon dioxide. And if that doesn't do anything for you, here's a stat. 2% of the US GDP goes to grow food that does not get eaten. Yeah, we're wasting the entire GDP of a country that goes here. Every year, the United States is growing and then wasting an entire Norway in food. Or an ironic...
You know what? We'll stick with it. I'm already learning. So we'll stick with the video.
Hungaries. Sorry. And to be clear, it's not just expiration dates. Food waste is happening all over the place. The EPA is sufficiently freaked out by the emissions and toxic byproducts caused by food waste that they are watching the problem like an eagle. And organizations like ReFed are cranking out charts and graphs that are exactly my style. Exhausting. God damn, green on green on green. Wow,
Whoa.
I guess fuck you if you don't have...
Yeah, whose idea was that? That's awful.
Perfect color vision. And the labels are way off to the side. At least make it 3D, people. Drop shadow is free. Let me just... Okay, and there we go. And there we go. Perfect. Now, obviously, I cannot see this chart, but I am editing this video, so you'll be able to see that food waste is happening on every level of the food system.
I don't know.
We
Was
lose
that a
8
milk
million
bottle?
tons of food per year because people get afraid of expiration date labels, but we also lose millions of tons to things like harvesting issues, mistakes and malfunctions, and food being considered too ugly. Food waste is a massively complicated problem, but the easiest and fastest thing to solve is people misinterpreting the labeling on their food. Plus, it's one that you can actually have a measurable impact on. Also, I did a ton of research on food waste, and I gotta tell you, expiration dates were absolutely the funniest part, so that's why.
Yuck. Okay, he said yuck. Granted, he this is long before, this is, you know, pretty far down on the video list. So this was long before the big dairy expose. Okay, so maybe he didn't know. Maybe he didn't know how that's destroying everything.
I'm Raleigh Williams. I have a belly full of milk, a head full of complaints.
I forgot, not Robbie, Raleigh. Don't you talk about climate, Raleigh.
And a master's degree full of climate science and policy. And this is a video about how expiration dates are bullshit. Welcome to Climate Town.
Well, I will point out that on my Reese's Cup bag, it hilariously says that this is best before February 2026. No problem. No problem. I think I'll get to those before February. You have my word, Reese's.
Effective, healthy blood pressure support takes more than innovation. It takes vision.
Felix?
At Human, our...
How was your day, Felix? You weren't... Oh, there's the glitch. And there we have the glitch. Right when I'm talking to Felix. I must seem tired. I am kind of tired today. Not going to lie. How was your day, Felix? I know. I'll eat him soon. How was your day, Nilf? I feel like I've gone hard on you. You know what? Let's mend fences, Nilf. I would like to put our differences behind us, if at all possible, and try to repair the damage. You know, this damage. What do you think, Nilf? Can we do it? Can we put it behind us?
Despite what our collective great-grandparents may have told us, food in the 1880s and 90s was an absolute crapshoot. I mean, this woman was just served 3 identical plates of beans, so, you know, riddle me that, Chester A. Arthur. Now, I'm not saying my Grandma Betty was lying when she talked about pies cooling on the windowsills, but without any real laws in place, food producers were playing things extremely fast and loose. Oh, hey there, friendo! Oh, your cheese isn't orange enough for you, hey? Why not sprinkle in a little healthy lead to give it a nice glow? Chocolate not shiny enough for your kids on their work break? Well, just gussy it up with a schmurts of arsenic. I do it every day. During the Civil War, they used
This is a good channel, y'all. You can't deny it, right? It's a good...
formaldehyde to stop dead soldiers from turning into extras from The Walking Dead. This naturally led to a whole bunch of milkmen from the 1900s deciding to keep their milk from spoiling by adding a splash of the good stuff. And if the newspapers are to be believed, a tall glass of formaldehyde milk can really ruin a box social. Actually, you know what? Those people are so...
Here I try to make inroads. Try to make inroads with Nilf. You see what he does to me. I reach out a hand, and I feel he chopped it off. I reach my hand out, Nilf. You cut it like a blade of grass. Well, I'll tell you something, Nilf. My hand doesn't grow back. I was going to try a little more dramatic, but that's all I had. My hand doesn't grow back, Nilf. Okay.
Horned up, I don't think anything can stop him. Enter Dr. Harvey Wiley, the U.S. Department of Agriculture's chief chemist, who is consistently finding that when people ate things like arsenic and lead and formaldehyde, they got sick. Man, science was way easier to do back in the past. Actually, Harvey Wiley's story is crazy. He got together a group of young men who became known as the Poison Squad on account of how they all agreed to eat poison to see how poison affected them. All kinds of poison. We're talking borax, formaldehyde, acids, the works. Dr. Wiley's findings got national attention, and people were calling for food safety regulations, if for no other reason than to stop these dudes from poisoning themselves. That wasn't really going to work for the food industry because, you know, they didn't want to be regulated in any way. There were some outliers. Henry Hines wanted regulations because he was worried that people might...
Guys, I'm a little concerned that I am going to miss the expiration date on these Reese's Cups, so I think it's important that I take care of that very quickly. So, you know, if y'all want a little ASMR, this is what it sounds like to open one. to fail to open one. Don't worry, I won't chew it in front of the camera. All right, let's continue.
I'd buy a bottle of ketchup only to find that it was packed to the gills with rat poison, Chicago style. However, the majority of the food industry lobbied their asses off and attempted to bribe or bully Congress into backing down. But credit where credit is due, Grandma Betty's generation didn't want to French kiss corporations quite as hard as we do today, so they passed the first food safety law in 1906. The name of that law? The Wiley Act.
Look at Nil just coming and going like he pleases. Just unbelievable. The elephant never forgets. Right, Alicia? Time for the walk. Catch you later. What walk? What walk? Felix, long day. That includes a 1-hour walk from my commute to work each day, so I'm usually ready to relax once home after the cats are fed first. That's some good exercise you get every day. 1-hour walk each way? Man, that's pretty cool. I mean, probably doesn't feel cool when you're doing it, but it's good for you. Yeah. You think I'll get more subs, Alicia? Mary knows it's going to be fun. I was trying to read your message, Alicia, and then you retracted it. I will remember forever. Okay. Outreach SD. It's Outreach SD. Is this your stuff? Oh, thanks, Felix. I wondered if people were going to like the George one or if they were going to find it super controversial. Seems like the reaction to the podcast has been pretty positive so far. Yeah. I enjoyed it a lot. Having the conversation, I mean. So Outreach San Diego. Is that I assume that's what you mean, right? We can check this out. All right, let's check this out. Put it on the screen. Oh, wait. That could be difficult with this glitch. Yeah. I think it's going to work. Hang on. Give it a chance. How dare you, Mary? Unbelievable. I put out a video, yesterday. You haven't finished it yet? Unbelievable. Wow. Can't believe you had the courage to even say that to me. Is that what all of you are doing, huh? Not finishing my interview? Yeah, it's like 2 hours, Alicia. I don't think most people get through watching most of my interviews, which is why I should probably, if I have something controversial to say, I'll just put it at the end. Nobody will ever hear it. It'll be fun. Let's check this out. Outreach San Diego.
How are you guys doing? Good. Have you seen footage like this before? What is it? So this is, good question, right? So this is standard practice across the animal agriculture industry. So it's a thing that happens behind closed doors that a lot of people don't see, they're not aware of, and they don't know about. Okay. So how do you feel about humans exploiting other animals?
Actually, looks bad. Yeah.
Looks bad. Yeah.
But I'm from village. I'm from Russia, and I'm from village.
Okay.
Yeah. My parents, they both they were buying animals, and
Okay.
they're growing up, and we are killing them for food.
Sure.
Because it's our way for survival.
It's the way you've done it for a long time, right? Yeah, absolutely. No, I completely.
The infamous Russia, though. No way to respond to Russia, though. Yeah, you were watching some guy, I guess you might say some woman, you might say a lot of things, but yeah, you were watching someone do something last night.
Understand that. And again, it says I'm not judging you or anything like that. It's just a conversation about it. So do you believe that, you personally, do you believe that animals deserve respect? Yeah, right. Absolutely. Do you think it's possible to respect animals?
The youth has seen the truth
and still eat meat, milk, and eggs? Possible to respect animals and still eat meat, milk, and eggs? Is it a respectful thing to kill them and eat the meat, milk, and eggs? Hard, right? That makes sense. That's hard when we put it like that, isn't it? Right? No, I agree. And I didn't grow up not eating this. Like, I ate meat, milk, and eggs and all that growing up as well, right? And so it was something new for me to learn as well, for sure. So have you heard of the word vegan or being vegan, veganism?
I will be honest, I tried.
Okay.
But I think how we...
So he has a mic, right? I'm just thinking like how to logistically do some of these things too. I mean, obviously a mic would be, that must be what that is.
Warning the system eating meat, it's so hard.
It's not rocket science, Jeremy.
Sure. Soup, right? But you guys, you're used to it.
Every time when I watch it, it's kind of hard.
Right? Exactly. When you watch it, right? So it's normalized in our society. So I'm 51. I went vegan at 47. And yeah, I was 47 years old when I went vegan.
16-year-old outreacher. Not this guy, obviously.
Well, that's what people think, right? Is they go, okay, well, how do you get your protein without meat, right? Well, the good news is that there's plenty of protein in plants, and there's plenty of other protein sources, right? And actually protein is like the easiest thing to get, right? So I've like tracked my numbers because I'm curious. I'm just like that. And protein is literally very easy to get. And you can still work out and be strong and all that without it, right? So being vegan is an ethical stance that humans should live without exploiting other animals. Okay? So that means not eating meat, milk, and eggs, not wearing fur, leather, wool, silk, and like that. Okay? So if we can get everything we need without having to do this, then the question is, why would we? Right? It is super sad, right? And so like you said, you're brought up that way, right? So was I, right? So was I. And so just like anything else in life where you learn something new though, right? I'm sure you've gone through periods of learning something new, right? So it's just a learning curve for a little bit of figuring out, okay, if I'm not going to eat this, then what do I eat? And then once you figure that out, it's easy. When I go to the grocery store, I don't think to myself like, oh, what vegan food am I going to buy? I just go buy food, right? And it becomes very simple. Would you trade places with any of the animals on the screen?
Sorry?
Would you trade places? Would you be willing to trade places with the animals?
Uh-oh. Oh, no. I like how they said this. A gentleman walked by and did what one may consider trolling. So that is cut out. The lady said that she would not want to trade places with the animal. They got me so curious that they didn't show it.
You wouldn't trade places with them, right? Then why would we do that to them? So again, it's a learning curve, but you can certainly learn new things, right? So from this day forward, how many animals should be exploited for you? 0 or more than 0?
I'm sure it's like 1,000 million animals by day.
But for you personally, from this day forward, how many should be exploited and have this happen to them for you? 0 or more than 0? You think more than 0? What would prevent it from being 0? Why couldn't it be 0? Again, not a judgment, not an argument, just a conversation. it seems like something probably you haven't thought of before, right? It's a lot to take in, a lot.
I don't know if she understood what he meant, but okay.
Think about.
You need to go.
Okay, let me give you.
Actually, yeah, you need to go.
Yeah, let me give you a card. Not sell anything. It's totally free. We're just passionate about this because we care about the animals. Okay, so there's QR codes.
One day everybody can.
It starts with you.
Because I know everything's connected.
Right. And it starts.
Yeah,
Yep.
I know.
And it starts with you. All right. Have a good night.
Good point. I like that he, drove it home. Starts with you. Starts with you. Yeah, they were pretty cool. Those two. I mean, he did a nice job. Let's make sure we link that there. So that's anonymous for the voiceless group in San Diego, I believe. California, San Diego. Thanks for the recommendation there, Neil. That was a good job. You got me kind of curious about, let's see, this outreacher. Let's see. Oh, wait. Guys, I didn't do what you
How are you guys
should
doing?
do. Smash the like button.
Have you
the
seen footage like this
subscribe
before?
button. Okay. This guy, it looks like this guy right here. Vegan asks too many questions. Vegan and meat eater, it's part of our culture. This is their most viewed. Let's check it out.
So, first question. How do you feel about animals?
Love animals.
I agree. I love animals too. Couldn't agree more. Second question.
Vegan asks too many questions.
How do you feel about people that abuse animals?
Makes me angry.
Makes me angry too,
Pretty
right?
sure that's the guy we just watched right there.
Yeah.
Could be wrong. Could be wrong.
I agree. Like, why should they do that? Third question. How do you describe or qualify animal abuse?
Hurting an indefenseless animal, or just cruelty. Towards an animal that can't defend itself.
Absolutely. What would an example of cruelty be? That's not a question. Just
It could go from like not feeding it if you have a pet, right? To neglect, or even just physical abuse, beating it, hurting it.
Absolutely. I agree with all that. And my definition of that is doing something to an animal they wouldn't want done to themselves.
Okay.
There's kind of a couple solvers.
That's fair. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So our fourth question, this is a tricky one, easy one to ask, but hard one to answer. This is a gotcha moment. This is simply to spark conversation. Okay. What about the animals we send to slaughterhouses that are killed for meat, milk, eggs, that are produced in leather industry, fur industry?
That's tough because I eat a lot of meat.
Yeah.
That's tough. Yeah, I think that there's inhumane ways of it being done. Absolutely. So I think that is cruel in itself. I mean, I think even myself, I tend to turn a blind eye to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it is cruel. Yeah,
absolutely. Do you think there's a humane way to kill someone that doesn't want to die?
God. No.
Yeah, absolutely. Because humane is like humans want this done for themselves, right?
Yeah.
But I sure wouldn't kill a human if they didn't want to die.
Yeah.
Obviously. Have you ever heard of being vegan?
I have.
What do you think being vegan means?
Not eating meat or dairy.
Yeah, so that's definitely a part of it. The definition of it is to live without exploiting the animals. So not only not eating animals or animal products, but also not attending circuses or rodeos, or basically viewing them as a commodity for us to use.
Okay.
Would there be anything stopping you from going vegan?
Yeah, just my love for burgers and stuff like that. But I mean, while I understand all that, it's you know, it would be a very hard transition, but I do understand the concept.
Yeah. What do you think is harder, you making the transition or the animal in the factory farm with barely any room to move that are killed in an absolute fraction of their lifespan?
I think it's easier for, well, you said, I'm sorry, repeat the question?
What's harder, you changing to become vegan or the animal's position or being in the animal's position?
Oh, to be in the animal's
Right,
position,
absolutely.
sure. Yeah.
That makes our view definitely look easier. Do you think I went vegan because I didn't like the taste of meat?
No.
Why'd I go vegan?
Because you care about the animal.
Absolutely. So now, would there be anything stopping you from going vegan?
No.
Right, because this is an injustice.
Yeah.
And
He's doing good, isn't he? Oh, man, he is doing good. What do y'all think? Wait, what's happening? We still on?
And that if I was in the animal's position, any one of the animals that's abused and exploited, how quickly do you think I'd want that to end?
Oh, immediately.
Immediately, right? Why would I have it continue if I don't need to?
Right. Why you said why would?
Why would I want to have it continue if it doesn't need to continue? Why would I want to be in the position of an animal?
Oh, you wouldn't.
Exactly. You wouldn't want to be.
Yeah, no, you wouldn't. There's no reason.
Lots to think about, huh?
Yeah. Well, yeah, lots to think about.
You make the change?
I'm definitely considering it.
Yeah.
You're on camera, buddy. She just snuck in here with you're on this camera that we're watching, but now you're really on camera. Both angles are covering whether or not you are going to remain hurting animals or you're going to change based on 16-year-old killing it. What a boss, right? It's awesome.
Consider it.
Yeah.
Do it.
I'm considering it. Yeah. Yeah.
Just every time
I'll do it.
You do it?
Yeah.
Going vegan? Vegan for now?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go, my friend. Check that out.
It's a QR code, but
thank you guys.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Have a great night.
You're gonna be one of us very soon. You come out and do a reach with us. Don't be off.
Awesome. Great work, Outreach San Diego. Man. See, if you feel dispirited, then you can see that all the people are doing the work. It doesn't mean we can all just sit around playing Tomb Raider, does it, Mary? Doesn't mean but sometimes we can play. We can play Tomb Raider sometimes. I thought that was awesome. Okay, Felix, we'll watch your video now next. And I might end it after that video. I don't think the Climate Town video was going to be something that was really going to be that relevant for us. So we'll bail on Climate Town for this. For the first time ever, we bail on Climate Town, but that's fine, right? It's all right. All right. We're bailing on Climate Town, but it's not a commentary on, oh yeah, this guy, Benny the Vegan. I remember him. Yeah, I haven't heard from Benny in a while. I feel like, I don't know if we've ever spoken. I know we've never met in person, but I feel like we may have exchanged social media comment or so. All right, share this tab. Benny the Vegan. Need to sub to him from, I already know I'm going to like it. I'm not withholding my likes with Benny the Vegan. I already know that I should like this video. So there I go. All right. Has he been quiet for a while? I figured. Yeah, but anyway. Nice. First time we've reacted to Benny on this channel.
You're still killing an animal.
Whoa.
Each screen is showing something different. But what you're seeing here are boys in the egg industry who will never lay eggs.
Oh,
So
Wait.
those are
Change the screen. Change the screen. I should just not do this because of the glitch. It just makes this very hard to do. But I can kind of get it to work anyway.
day-old chicks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, this is what happens to all day-old boy chicks in the egg industry.
Right.
Yeah.
That looks like a
Can you
friend of mine. That looks so much like a friend of mine. I'm like, was he there?
imagine why we might do that to day-old boy chicks in the egg industry?
For factory efficiency, that's horrible.
You're pretty much hitting the nail on the head. Boys don't lay eggs. Yeah. So they won't make a profit for the egg industry. We throw them in there. This is what happens to the girls. The girls put on this conveyor belt, and this machine holds their head in place, and they'll have their beaks cut off by that machine with no anesthetic. Can you imagine why we might do that to the girls? It's not much better.
I have no idea.
Right. It's a little harder to figure out. It's because all chickens in the egg industry, whether they're cage-free, pasture-raised, organic, all of that, we keep them in such stressful conditions where they can't perch, they can't graze, that they'll just start to peck at each other out of desperation. So we cut their beaks off so that when they start to do that, they won't damage the product. Basically, yeah.
How many? Like, what is the percentage of meat companies that utilize the tactics?
Factory farming is 98% of the animal agriculture industry.
How long have you been vegan?
I've been vegan now for 3 years.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What?
I was vegetarian for like 2 years before that, and vegan for 3 years.
What would you say was your like pivotal moment?
The pivotal moment for me was seeing that movie Cowspiracy.
Really?
So for me, when I decided to be vegan, and I did it overnight, like there was no, a lot of people find it helpful to do it in steps.
That's pretty interesting. I haven't heard a ton of people say Cowspiracy is the reason why they went vegan, but I have heard some people say it, and that's interesting because that's a sort of an environmental focus, which often doesn't get people all the way there. But in this case with Benny, it sure did.
For me, I was just like, boom, I'm vegan now. And that's what worked for me. Because then there were no questions.
Yeah.
It was like, I'm hungry. What should I do?
Yes, yes. I'm glad he said that, because when people do these like little steps and they're like, well, what about this in this scenario? Or what about this in that scenario? Or can I do this? Or can I do that? And the answer just is always no. You will not. You will not do that. Then it's just so much easier. Learn to say no, guys. That's what I'm saying. Learn to say no to everything. I had a friend who had like a t-shirt. It was like, nah, I'm vegan. That's all it said. Nah, I'm vegan.
Well, I know what I'm not going to do. But I did it after seeing Cowspiracy. So it wasn't about the animals. I just learned about the way my choices were impacting the environment. And I was like, my actions do not align with my morals at all. Like, and that's the thing. Like,
is Benny Canadian? Whoa, this stuck to me. I don't think so. He might be, but I feel like I've seen him doing activism in America.
When we pay people to do this,
which doesn't mean he's not Canadian, obviously.
Stuff to animals, our actions are completely misaligned with our own morals. Right? Like we're paying people to do things we would never do. We don't even want to look at it. And we're happily paying people to do it for us 3 times a day. It's really ludicrous if you think about it.
Yeah, no, definitely. And like, you don't get to see any of this stuff when you like buy meat.
Weirdly, like I remember Benny was in Earthling Ed's, I think remember when Earthling Ed debated InfoWars, which was phenomenal, by the way. I think I seen Benny standing right on the edge of that.
Why do you think that is?
Like the people who make their livelihoods on this, the last thing they want is people like knowing the processes.
That's absolutely right. In fact, to film this, if you're caught filming this, you can be tried as a terrorist. It's called the ad-gag laws. It's laws put in place to protect.
Oh, and by the way, y'all know like Ed is British, right? But Earthling Ed, but he was in America. That's why I brought it up. He was in America debating some InfoWars lady who showed up at one of their demonstrations.
Protect these industries
in America.
From what? From us knowing the truth. Can you imagine like you go to a pumpkin patch in the fall, right? Take as many pictures as you want.
Yeah.
Right? No one's like telling you not to take pictures at the apple orchard, right? But as soon as you show what happens in a slaughterhouse on a dairy farm, you're a terrorist.
I don't know about that. I mean, would y'all, if let's just say hypothetically that I wanted to go undercover. This is all hypothetical, by the way. I'm not saying I'm going to do this, but let's say hypothetically, I got a tip that this guy Nilf was out there brutalizing his lawn. And I don't know, I set up a couple cameras in the middle of the night. Filmed what takes place. And perhaps even staged a daring rescue of a couple of blades of grass. Because you can't save them all. Guys, let's be real. You know, you got to find somewhere to put the grass. There's somewhere that, you know, you can't just take the blades of grass and just throw them around willy-nilly. Like, they need somewhere to go. My question is, would you watch that, or would that be too brutal? Because I don't want to do all this work if, you know, I just make a documentary that's there for me to feel good, you know, like that I did something. And I put myself through all that trauma too. Because like that could be, I could go through PTSD having witnessed what he does. And I'm just saying, I'm just asking, would y'all be interested in a documentary about that? Okay. I'll think about that.
Prison?
People that have gone to prison. In fact, on that card, you should watch that first speech. It's called Best Speech You'll Ever Hear. He was one of the like earliest animal rights activists. So within like the animal rights scene, he's sort of like a legend. And he went to maximum security prison because he went to a fur farm and freed a bunch of minks. He went to maximum minks. He went to maximum security prison. And it's because he cost them a bunch of money. And it's all money, it's all politics.
How do we like fix this? Like,
yeah, I think that it's a good question.
Yeah, great question. Instead of like, oh, how do I keep doing this? How do we fix this? Great question. Whoever you are, awesome person.
The only reason this happens is because we pay for it to happen. So this is supply and demand. The more demand we create for these items, the more they supply it. And the inverse is also true. Right. The less of these we demand, the less they create.
When do you think?
It's like the more people buy iPhones, the more iPhones they're going to make.
Of course.
And now we view animals as iPhones. We view them as commodities, right? How much can we profit from them? How delicious can we make them? How fat can we make them for our taste buds?
When will the day come where there's no more demand?
That's totally up to us. I hope sooner rather than later.
Good answer. Yeah. Like, okay. I know a lot of this is self-explanatory and pretty obvious, but I'm supposed to add commentary when I react to things. But I do like that he's just like, it's up to us, instead of like, when you think that can happen, empower the person in front of you to say, well, what do you think? Like, what are you going to do? You know, if you act on this and you do your best, and right, and we'll get there a little faster.
Rather be undisturbed and continue living with this as opposed to like
as opposed to acknowledging
Yeah.
that we treat the most innocent, vulnerable animals on this planet worse than we treat the most violent offenders of our own species. Like if you think about the rapists, the child molesters, we treat animals worse than them.
just like
They have done nothing
Yeah.
to us, right? They did nothing other than be born with what, like wings instead of arms, and, or gills instead of lungs, or whatever it is, But we know they suffer. We know they enjoy the sunshine. We know they have communities. We know they're maternal. It's like, what more do we need to know?
I feel enlightened. Ben. I feel very enlightened.
So what happens now?
I'm gonna make a change, man. I'm seriously gonna consider it and
Yeah.
make it happen. No,
That's amazing to hear. It's amazing to hear because your change.
That warms my cold black heart. It makes it pump more. Never mind.
Means change for so many. It really does.
Yeah.
There's a reason we don't know these things.
Those aren't facts that concern your average American.
Right. Right. And if it did concern them, then they'd start to lose money.
Wow, it really is all about money at the end of the day.
That's 100% what it's about.
You know what would be really awesome? Just because I know this happened like 6 years ago, and I love this guy's responses. You know what would be really cool to see is a video where someone, got outreach to, and then like a couple years later, you saw them doing the videos. Oh, that'd be cool, right? Like they turned into an activist. I don't know if we've seen that yet. I did hear that that rapper Feldy went vegan after encountering an AV cube, and now he raps about animal rights, which is badass. If y'all don't know Feldy, I think he's on social media as I am Feldy, Feldi. But check him out. I believe he's Australian. Am I right? Yeah, I think so. Or yeah, I think so. Anyway, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
And that's not. I mean, no one in these videos, they aren't bad people, right? Like the farmer.
I think he's UK based, actually.
Right. And that's not. I mean, no one in these videos, they aren't bad people. Right, like the farmer,
just doing their job.
Right, the farmer raising the cow, the truck driver driving animals to the slaughterhouse. These people, those aren't bad people. They're doing what we pay them to do, and no one grows up wanting to work in a slaughterhouse. That's not anybody's dream, right? This is
Those
actually
jobs are dangerous too, right?
It's actually also a human rights issue.
Like incredibly dangerous.
Incredibly dangerous. Slaughterhouse workers,
like they have to wear armor and stuff.
Slaughterhouse workers have some of the highest rates of PTSD and suicide rates. A lot of them are illegal immigrants, which means that they aren't protected by any sort of like labor law.
I mean, let's think about this, guys. Like, if we could envision a scenario that would be unsafe, let's just start ticking the boxes, all right? High stress, fast-paced environment, right? Fluid everywhere, blood, water, slippery floors, right? Animals trying to get away, moving a lot, thrashing, sharp blades everywhere, machinery, and people performing acts of violence on a daily basis. normalizing violence. Like, you couldn't envision a more dangerous place unless you're like envisioning war or something. It's a terrible environment. Of course, nobody wants to be in these places, not to mention disease. Didn't even mention that. Disease, COVID, you know, bird flu, mad cow, you know, awful. And you know, number 10 would be desperation, because a lot of people working there are in desperate situations why they do this awful work, right? A few years ago, there was a report about children working in, children, 11. That's number 11. You brought us to 11, Mary. Children working in slaughterhouses. So, yeah, I mean, and that brings us to number 12, an extreme power imbalance between the people running things and the people doing the work, right? Power imbalance, right? So, very, very, very dangerous places.
Because if they were to
and one more thing. Places where they don't want anybody to see. So, yeah. So little oversight, right?
Work, their working conditions or whatever, they'd just be deported. So if we lived in a world where from day one we were taught that a cat and a dog and a chicken and a pig and a cow, all their lives have value in the way that ours have value, then how could we ever live in a world with racism, with sexism, with anti-Semitism, with homophobia, where we're distinguishing these characteristics, finding reasons to hate each other?
Yeah, it's all moot.
If we were taught from the early stage that none of these differences matter, right? We're taught to.
This guy right here is just like completely on board. No excuses, just like, yeah, I feel enlightened by you, Benny.
Accept people for their differences, but we're feeding ourselves 3 times a day with cruelty and persecution and exploitation and violence and suffering and murder. It's a total contradiction. We feed ourselves with it.
I'm gonna make a change. Seriously,
I'm so glad to hear that.
You're good at your job.
Benny, come back. What you doing? Where you been, man? Where you been? I have no idea what he's doing. He's probably doing a lot. Who knows? Maybe he's like doing incredible like behind the scenes stuff that we don't know. Maybe he's already on Nilf's lawn right now. Maybe he's filming right now. He could be. He could be doing the tough work that I've only just talked about. What? I mean, Benny did great, but I mean, it's just that guy's openness was, I mean, it was a layup. Let's be honest. That was just a layup that Benny had to not brick. And not taking it away from Benny at all, but that one was a layup. Wait. There's that video. Y'all know what to do. Do y'all know what to do, or do I need to say it? You go in that, you click that link, you hit the like button, you hit the subscribe button. You say, you get the Jeremy bump, Benny. It took a while, but you got it. Took a while. It took too long, but you got it. And then you say, Benny, where you been? We miss you. We miss you. We think about you a lot, and we reminisce about the old days. And we look off into the distance wistfully. That's what we do. That's what I do. I don't know if y'all do, but I do when I think about Benny. All right. Is that enough silliness for one day, guys? Is that enough? Did I meet the quota? All right. I think, you know, every time it hit 10, every time it hits double dig, I can't go. I feel like there should be a rule. There's a rule. I can't stop. Ooh, it dropped down 3. I think people heard me starting to do my outro. Now we're at 6. Oh God. Oh God, I shouldn't have done that. We hit 10 all of a sudden. Now we're back up to 7. I'm getting them back. I'm getting them back. Come back, guys. Come back. We might continue Climate Town. Yeah. Oh, I was about to say it, but you know what? Let's find out about the Wiley Act. All right. This will 100% be the last video. It's kind of a long one there. I know they're coming back. They're 8. Oh, damn. What happened, Alicia? What happened? We were there. We were there. Climate Town. Oh, it's Mary. It's Mary's internet. That's why. That's why. The glitch. The glitch. The glitch. Killing me, Climate Town.
Janet! When's the last time you had a vegetable?
Tuesday month.
Damn it, Janet! Meet Groons.
Damn it, Janet.
While the USDA and the FDA were busy passing food safety laws, America was urbanizing, and more people were moving to cities and suburbs and buying the bulk of their food at grocery stores. Food was getting packaged in one state, transported to another state, and then stocked on shelves. And food manufacturers began putting little codes on some of the groceries so stores could keep track of the stock. The codes were secret, and the practice was...
You know, this is kind of like, I just want to point out that, you know how like you go to a concert, you see the band play, you think they've wrapped it up, but then there are those brave souls who stay after. They keep facing the stage. They say, we want more. And those troopers are oftentimes rewarded with sometimes 2 or 3 more songs. Those are you guys. Those are you heroes who are getting... The band has come back on the stage after teasing that they're gone. Some people bought it, but others were wisely sticking around because they knew nothing can tear Jeremy away from Climate Town.
Called closed dating.
Nothing.
But like everyone who comes across a secret code, customers wanted to know what it said.
I didn't think of the word.
It's a secret code. It says a secret.
Oh,
But
Neil,
I'll never tell.
come on, Neil.
And I'm not saying customers are being unreasonable. You're paying $1 for apples, whether they've been on the shelf for an hour or a week. You'd rather get the newest ones.
Yes.
I get it.
How would you, Mrs. Homemaker, go about finding out which one of these cans
Throw
contains...
the undergarments on the stage. Yes. Oddly enough, that hasn't happened to me very much since starting the channel. There's been a real surprising lack of panties and bras thrown my direction. I really thought when I started my channel that that would happen to me more. I thought it might happen when I left my home, but to be honest, it doesn't really happen.
the best peaches or gave the most for your money. You would look in vain for some information on the labels that you could depend upon. The best possible guide that you, unaided, could have as to their quality.
And by 1973, 10 states had adopted some kind of regulation to make stores de-secret their codes in a policy known as open dating. And no, I'm not going to do a joke about open dating.
By the way, I'm just sort of thinking, like, my mind is wandering now. Like, just how that practice got started is so funny to me. Like, someone was enjoying the show so much. They were like, here, dude, you win. Take it. It's funny. I mean, like, I feel like there should be a video. I want to look it up and see how that got started.
dating, I already feel bad enough about that Three Hungaries shit from the intro. And as open dating became a trend and food manufacturers began openly stamping the date on the packaging, customers rejoiced at being able to get just the absolute newest eggs. But food experts weren't quite so jacked. In a 1979 study, a dream team of food
What's up, Jeremy Gord? Wow. I'm glad I stayed. See? Got a Jeremy viewing. If I hadn't done that, I wouldn't have seen my buddy Jeremy Gord, and that would have been sad.
Experts from the USDA, the Department of Health, prominent universities, and more got together to express their nervousness that people would see the date and think it was about safety. On several occasions, they noted there is little or no benefit derived from open dating in terms of improved microbial safety.
Which one of these cans contain the best peaches?
The Government Accountability Office also warned federal lawmakers that failure to implement a national system would add confusion if they let each manufacturer, retailer, or state choose its own dating system. So they tried to come up with a countrywide policy. Unfortunately, it's really fucking difficult to get all the representatives to agree on a labeling system that accurately conveys the concept of peak freshness for like all food. Couple that the food industry viciously lobbying because they didn't want to be regulated in A, and there was a labeling was bubbled up from every state. And over the course of just a few decades, a thing that started out as a bunch of 19 bubbled up from every state. And over the course of just a few decades, a thing that started out as a
this is why I love this channel. I mean, one of the reasons, one, they make great videos, but just random shit like that. God, I love that. That's just
labeling rules bubbled up from every state. And over the course of just a few decades, a thing that started out as a bunch of 1970s era shoppers wanting the freshest bread became the expiration date nightmare we're currently living in. And that is the origin of 16 billion pounds of food being expired into the trash every year. Because a bunch of shoppers named Shirley and Louis and Nancy wanted to know which box of crackers was newest. It's that stupid. It's actually even more stupid. Because manufacturers determine when a product expires or is best by or has some freshness in 2 ways. The first way is they get a bunch of people in a room and they have them eat food of various ages and rate it out of 10. Once the average rating drops...
Green knickers. Knickers. That's a pretty funny word. All right. Can anybody top green knickers? I feel like I have to say that word very carefully. Knickers. Knickers. Stop. Do not. Don't try and clip that.
Below a 7, that's the expiration date. It's not
Do it.
dangerous. It's
Don't do
perfectly edible. It's just not above a 7. So to Nabisco hell with you, you blueberry muffins. And that's the good way. The other way is that they just fucking guess. Yeah, they don't have the money to cram a bunch of college kids onto a racquetball court and have them hork down taco shells till they get some 6s. So they guess. And in the case of a product that obviously doesn't expire, they guess for like a year or 2 from now, which is how you can get 250 million year old sea salt that expires next year. What are the chances?
That's pretty
And this wouldn't even be that big of a problem if America didn't inexplicably read date labels like they were messages from future you trying to prevent your own assassination. And I'm just as guilty of this. Like last week, I was 95% sure I gave myself macaroni poisoning. Studies
This is the ad, isn't it?
consistently find that 80 to 90% of consumers are throwing food out based on safety concerns based on
Oh, it's not.
a date label that has nothing to do with food safety. And our collective paranoia means that every year we're sending date label that has nothing to do with food safety.
This lady has a fun. Fun? I guess so.
And our collective paranoia means that every year we're sending billions of pounds of food to the dump. And I'm not talking about the bathroom kind. Okay, cool it. There's only 3 of them. And this actually also counts, because it's number 2. And it's not just Ma and Pa Kettle at home. I honestly have no idea who Ma and Pa Kettle are, and I refuse to look it up on principle. I just know you're allowed to say Ma and Pa Kettle when you want to refer to like normal people at home. Date label
I have
concerns...
never heard that in my life. Raleigh, are you pulling my leg here? I feel like I'm too old to be having new terms thrown at me that I should have known.
Are the #1 reason why grocery stores and wholesalers have to get rid of perfectly edible food. Grocery stores know what date labels mean, but they're justifiably worried that their customers will fall in that 80 to 90% of people who think food past its date label is unsafe.
We're just looking at the top few inches. and it's 8 feet deep. So we don't even know what's down there.
Grocery stores cannot afford to lose customers. So if cereal is having a slow
Right? Wait, what?
a month, it's unsafe.
What did I
Their
just-
customers will fall in that 80 to 90% of people who think food past its date label is unsafe.
We're just looking at the top few inches, and it's 8 feet deep. So
Yeah, you're looking at a dump. This guy's mind is being blown by the depth of the bin. Okay.
we don't even know what's down there.
Grocery stores cannot afford to lose customers.
Yeah,
So if
also, sometimes things are on top of other things, and the things that are below you don't see. Also, yeah, that is also a keen, astute observation, dude. Thank you.
cereal is having a slow month and that new shipment of Lucky Charms comes in and needs shelf space, well, I hate to say it, but that little racist leprechaun is going to finally get his wish of keeping kids away from his Lucky Charms because he's going straight to the dump. And it is way worse for fresh fruits and veggies. A new shipment comes in and the old stuff often gets tossed regardless of how perfectly edible it is. And if you're just visualizing us lighting a big pile of money on fire, it's actually worse than that. Because when we throw food in the trash, we waste all of this we used to grow the food to send it on a trip to the grocery store, where we waste this to keep it there before we truck it to the landfill where it generates this. We're turning the environment into poison. We're basically doing a reverse Rumpelstiltskin. And if that doesn't make any sense to you, you know what? I'll put it on the Patreon page because it's gonna be tedious and I don't respect those people's free time. And wait, because it's even worse than that. While expiration dates seem to have metastasized from something pretty innocuous, some states have weaponized expiration dates as a way to benefit special interest groups and certain industries. And there is no better example of this than the bare-ass hippie liberal socialist commune that is the state of Montana. This is Montana. The stock footage website I pay for has some beautiful clips of the Big Sky State. I have some cousins who live out there. I visited a couple times. It's beautiful. And now we're back to New York. In Montana, it is illegal to sell milk that is more than 12 days.
If you hear that, you must do that. Or you're not hearing the song properly.
Old. 12 days. This is refrigerated, pasteurized, perfectly healthy and safe milk, but if the clock strikes midnight on the 13th day, it is illegal to sell that milk. The industry standard is 21 to 24 days, but Montana State Rule 32.8.202 forces Montana grocery stores under penalty of fine to remove milk on day 13. And if basic economics are to be believed,
$1.60. Fine, I'll take it. Hold on a minute here. If that's the only steak you've got, I'll give $2 for it. Well, now, wait. I'll give you $3 for it. I'll give $5 for it and take it all myself.
this creates an artificial demand for milk, which leads to higher milk prices in Montana and more money to the Montana dairy industry. State lawmakers have tried to change this law from time to time because grocery stores are constantly dumping milk down the drain, and you only really need to see a few clips of people being forced to waste their own money before you realize what a horrible law it is. But every time it comes up for debate, the must to waste their own money before you realize what a horrible
Oh, I thought he was saying that he did Oatly instead. That's a bottle of that. I mean, that's a container of Oatly right there. See the little V? That's Oatly.
law it is. But every time it comes up for debate, the Montana dairy industry lobbies against it, and the law magically stays on the books. Wow, gotta love democracy. Milk producers from other states steer clear of Montana because by the time their milk gets pasteurized and shipped over to
I think he was drinking Oatly. I think this guy knows dairy is shit.
Bozeman, it's only got a few days on the shelves before it's no longer allowed to be sold. And for the record, I am all for subsidies for locally sourced foods. But when the subsidy is to get grocery stores to throw their perfectly edible food away, well, I mean, that just doesn't seem to be in line with the kind of free market economics traditionally espoused by the politicians of the great state of Montana.
More taxes and regulations put Montana families out of work. The federal government is too big and too powerful.
I'm Matt Rosendale, and this is how I'd look from a government drone.
Wow, love the creativity. Quick note here, that's very much not what would happen if you shot your gun at a government drone. But at least this man is currently a congressman. Spectacular. A lot of you are probably guessing that it's illegal to donate expired food. Or at the very least, you're liable to get sued if something goes wrong. I mean, that's certainly something to help.
We pour down the drain.
Is it not? It's not.
Oh, you guys?
They keep teasing me.
It goes straight in the garbage.
So it seems to be a major concern of grocery stores across the country.
It goes straight in the garbage.
Yeah.
So
I do it because it gets me lawsuits.
there's too many lawsuits. Have you guys been sued before?
I don't know. To tell you the truth, it's
Oh,
not my
okay.
thing, but it's a health and safety issue. If it's supposed to be that it's like within 2 days, out the door goes. Vegetable, same thing.
Sell-by date itself, we pour down the drain. We cannot donate it to the food bank, so we don't want anybody getting sick, supposedly.
Except, here's the thing, you are completely covered by a pretty ironclad federal law called the Bill Emerson Good Samaritan Food Donation Act, or BEGSFDA for short. It's a law that specifically protects people donating food in good faith. For short. It's a law that specifically protects.
We should see that again. Let me catch up on the chat if there's some question. Would calves even drink pasteurized milk? Animals usually reject bad things instinctively. I don't know how to answer that one. I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Protects people donating food in good faith. But apparently, it's the nation's best kept secret. It is so important and so unknown that the 2018 Farm Bill explicitly asked the USDA to hire an employee who is personally responsible for making as many people aware of the Emerson Act as possible. And here we are 5 years in, and we're still losing 43 million pounds of food per day to people in grocery stores who are concerned about expiration dates. And not to put too fine a point on it, but there is no evidence of anyone in the United States ever being sued for a claim of sickness or death from donated food. Ever. It is so deeply not a thing that the Emerson Act has never once been used in a recorded case in the Westlaw data.
I will say I was working in a grocery not that long ago. It was a little while ago. But yeah, all the food was donated typically. That was part, like, so food that was close to its expiration date had not, become expired. They pulled it off the shelf to then donate. So that was at least a decent-ish thing.
Database. So by all means, donate.
I'm talking about dairy, though.
The food.
What are you talking about? You must be crazy. I never thought of it that way.
But here's the thing. Most food waste is not backroom deals or corrupt politicians trying to steal your milk money. The catastrophic waste in the food system is largely a problem we've kind of sleepwalked our way into. Even if every grocery store and member of the extended Kettle family knew all about the Emerson Act and wanted to donate, they are perfect.
Would an animal reject its own milk if it were pasteurized, like its mother's milk? I see what you mean. I doubt it, because the baby's thirsty. They would probably drink that milk. And the calves are given like a shitty replacement because they don't get the milk. Obviously, that's when we take their dairy away from them. I forget what they're given in replace, to replace the milk. So they'd probably prefer the milk, even if it were pasteurized. But I don't really know the actual answer to that. That's just my speculation.
Good, but technically expired food, we would still have an enormous problem. There are huge logistical challenges in moving food to food banks and keeping it from spoiling, but even if we were doing that, which we're not, we'd be using resources to transport food to another location where the problem starts again. That's treating the symptom and not the disease. However, an analysis from Refed estimates that for every $1 we spend actually reducing waste along the chain, we get $6 back. And that's not to mention the jobs created, the emissions reduced, or the extra people fed. Speaking of people fed, that is sick. Dude, BMW? I bet that dude is tight as hell. Speaking of people fed, there are about 50 million food insecure people in America, and we throw out about 130 billion meals worth of food a year, which means we waste enough food to give every food insecure person 7 meals a day. And if that's not a real kick in the balls to your system of ethics, which one are you using? Because that sounds awesome. That sounds like an awesome one. So the USDA and the FDA could step in and just absolutely drop the hammer on the crisscrossing labyrinth that is different state date labeling regulations. They're just kind of not doing that. And look, I don't blame them. It's not as easy as saying no date labels on any packaging. Knowing when something was manufactured is actually important information to customers, and food producers and grocery stores want to protect their reputation by providing customers with accurate freshness information. The core problem with date labeling is that no matter what you display on the packaging, there's a perception that food becomes dangerous after a specified time. One solution may be as simple as all of us just encouraging each other to remember that date labels are not about getting poisoned. Food safety is incredibly important, but the date label is just trying to help you determine
Which one of these cans contain the best peaches?
So maybe just having a single label that tells you when the food was packaged would work. Or maybe a Best By label could do the job, but there's actually been some excellent thinking on different date labeling techniques, and we've linked to the good ones in the bio. And if you're interested in reducing food waste, there are actually quite a few options, including starting very small.
I'm not sure if I agree, honestly, like that. I mean, they do take food safety pretty serious. Like, I mean, I understand that they're overboard with these dates and that usually food is thrown out. That's perfectly good. I understand that. But what was I gonna say? Like it's not just about which is the more fresh. Like there is some genuine concern, especially when you're talking about things like dairy, like that are already disgusting, right? And you know, so yeah, people getting sick, but it's usually not because of food being old. It's usually because they have like salmonella and shit.
There are a lot of problems that require rigorous political and social campaigns to even make a dent. But one thing you can personally do right now to make deep cuts in your...
Oh, I have no faith in government, Jeffrey. So if you mean too much faith by me saying no, by having no faith in government, yeah. Trust me, I have zero faith in government. Yeah, none.
Your own food waste is renew your vow to humanity's greatest weapon. I'm talking, of course, about your nose. You are the direct result of hundreds of your ancestors successfully using their noses to smell if food is bad enough.
None.
The people with bad noses, they're not around because they died. Use your nose. Smell the food. If it smells bad, don't eat it. If it smells fine, it's probably...
But if you mean when I'm talking about the labeling, I wasn't talking about the government being concerned about food safety. I don't think they're concerned. I mean the companies who, if they, make someone sick, they'll get sued. They're definitely concerned about people getting sick. So that's what I was talking about more so, but I guess they don't do the labeling. I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't know.
Probably fine. Obviously, there are some foods you need to be more careful with, like the foods doctors warn pregnant women to avoid. Or foods that you eat cold without a kill step, as food experts call it. But if you're cooking food up and it's been refrigerated and cared for properly, you can almost always smell it and then eat it if it smells okay. We can also be smarter about buying food.
How's your day going, Jeffrey? I had fun on your stream the other night. That was fun. What was I going to say about? Oh, well, anyway, it was fun. Everybody go sub to Jeffrey's channel if you're not subbed.
Fresh fruits and veggies in the front of the fridge instead of exiling them to the back of the drawer. You can also have a whole shelf in your fridge that is the Eat This Food First shelf. There's actually an incredible book by Dana Gunders, who we talked to while making this episode, called Waste Free Kitchen. It pretty much goes through everything you're likely to eat and how to reduce food waste from it. It's not an ad, it's just a really good book. So consider getting it if you feel like it. Reducing food waste on a larger scale requires...
We had a good panel, didn't we? We had Alicia there, Yeah, it was fun. Good crowd of people. All good people seem like.
One major thought. Food waste is not trash. I mean, think about it. We spend all this time and money concentrating energy and nutrients into food. It's more like a battery than it is an old hubcap. Now, the best way for you to reduce food waste is to buy less food and eat all the food you buy. But when you inevitably have waste left over, it's still an energy source outside of a landfill and a really dangerous methane producer inside a landfill. Keeping that energy concentrated is much more efficient than starting over from scratch, and some countries have made this shift by just banning food from going in the trash. In 1996, South Korea recycled barely 2.6% of their food waste, but after a 2013 composting policy, they are recycling nearly 100% of it. And it's not just other countries. A handful of states have also banned food waste from the landfill, including a law Vermont passed in 2012 that went into full effect in 2020. Policies like these only really grow with enthusiastic public support, which is another thing you can be a part of if you feel like it. If you have a grow with enthusiastic public support, which
I mean, if you got Raleigh, you know, doing that shit, I mean, who's not enthused, right? Who's not enthused by that?
is another thing you can be a part of if you feel like it. If you have a composting program in your neighborhood or you have your own home garden, you can use the energy locked in your food to make more food. If there is no
You're in
program,
LA, right, Jeffrey? A fire started on a property. Now, I'm not saying that's part of the all that's going on, but a fire started on a property next door to us, and it was really windy. That's there's the glitch. There's the glitch. Oh, north of LA. Gotcha. Sorry, I don't mean to dox you or anything. Guess you're pretty open about that, though.
program in your area and you want there to be one, you can tell your local
Kind of
government.
like if you live in a city like as big as an area as big as LA, you can be like, yeah, I'm in LA. It's not a big deal.
To start one up. We got links in the description to help you do that. We've also linked a whole bunch of groups that are doing an excellent job on this problem, both on a national level or in a local level. You can check out those links, but honestly, a few minutes on drgoogle.com will really help you put your money where your mouth is. Or your time where your eyes are, or ears. Yeah. As the food system starts to bump into the
he gave up.
Or
He gave up.
your time.
Here's the thing: when you get caught in a situation like that, you stay with it. We give up too easy in our culture.
Where your eyes are, or ears. Yeah. As the food system starts to bump into the realities of a finite world, turning the one-way trip food currently takes into a loop is going to become incredibly important. And the groups and companies that are making that loop a reality are going to start cropping up all over the place. We are currently wasting billions of dollars a year because we don't want to spend money on a solution. And that is the kind of brain-dead plan only a very charismatic box can get.
Mary, what do you mean you're back? I didn't even know you left. So are you saying that you unannounced? Oh, you did say. No, you said it. I see it up there. That's my bad. That's my mistake, Mary. I am the one at fault here. You did announce it. I just didn't see it, and that's my bad.
Get behind. And that's it. Thank you so much for sticking with me. We got a little more after the break, but first, an ad. Imagine you're the kind of person that wants to invest in the stock market, but you don't want to hand your hard-earned cash over to a bunch of oil and gas companies. Should be easy, but it turns out that's surprisingly difficult to actually do. Enter Carbon Collective, a neat little investment firm that offers a lower fee, diversified portfolio that won't directly fund the fossil fuel company having Salute City drawdown. And then
probably give it to some animal bullshit.
Carbon Collective. Ding! A little diamond on my tooth. Okay, that's
They'll give it to some shit that does regenerative bullshit or something.
the end of the ad. Thank you so much for watching Climate Town. Boy, do I appreciate it. If you want to see more, feel free to like and subscribe, or send your friend a cryptic text message about Climate Town.
I didn't like this video as much, but that's only because the topic didn't interest me as much. It's not their fault, is what I'm saying. Did y'all enjoy your visit to Climate Town? Our third visit to Climate Town.
Use your judgment. Do what feels best. If you really want to support Climate Town,
I still think it was a good video.
you can join our Patreon page, where for whatever you want per month, you get access to all the content we have on there that wasn't.
But I'm definitely more of a fan of Raleigh dunking on the dairy industry. That's my favorite. That's what I like. What? Birthday tomorrow, eh? Eight days sober, Jeremy? Congrats. 8 days sober and your birthday tomorrow. Well, happy birthday, Jeremy. That's awesome. Got anything fun planned? I put the link to this video, by the way, guys, but I am not going to tell you that you got to go and like it, because it was all right. The channel, definitely subscribe to the channel. Oh, I was just about to end the stream, Jeremy. I was just about to end it, but you know how I end streams. It takes a minute because I ramble. But happy birthday to you, Jeremy, and thanks for being here. It's nice to, you know, have Jeremy squared situation going. You know, it's good to, you know, multiply the Jeremys so that, you know, everybody else feels terror that the Jeremys are taking over. What I'm saying is it's good to spread terror. Wait, no, that will be taken out of context. Jeremy G. That'll get taken out of context. All right, guys. Okay. Yeah, go back to me and George. Thanks for watching that video. If you guys haven't seen that interview I did with George Martin, I very much enjoyed it. Hope you guys will enjoy it as well. And yeah, I'm going to end the stream now. Like the channel. You know, do the things. Do the things. I've said it too many times. I've said it more times than I need to. Y'all already know. You're the OGs. You're the OGs. Like y'all know the drill. We don't have any newbies in here. I don't see any. I don't see any newbies. If you're there, announce yourself. Announce yourself. I'm just kidding. Y'all have a good night, and thanks for joining me. And just, you know, I'll try to do it with the glitch, but you know how it goes. I think it works.